Chapter 74. Just now, Yang Zishi's attention had been completely diverted by the 10-year survival grass that the medicine shop owner had taken out. Now, hearing the young man's words and thinking of what the young man had just said in her ear, the blush on her cheeks did not even have time to fade before it turned even redder. A youth of her age talking to her about that matter made her extremely shy. However, what the young man had just said was her personal privacy. Other than her, no one else knew about it. "Aunt May, what he said about your situation just now, was it also correct?" Yang Zishi softly asked the woman behind her. When she saw the latter nod, she looked at the youth and said, "We're going back to the Yang family now. You can come with us." The instant her gaze landed on the youth, Yang Zishi sheepishly withdrew her gaze. The youth's words had broken her privacy, causing her to feel a little ashamed. "I have one condition," Zhou Donghuang said. Just as the middle-aged woman frowned and was about to flare up, Yang Zishi asked, "What conditions?" "If I can cure the Yang family chief's poison, I want the 10-year survival herb in your hands. Of course, if you can't decide, I can follow you back to the Yang family and let the person with authority decide." "I can decide that." A glimmer of hope appeared in Yang Zishi's eyes. "If you can cure my uncle of the poison, the 10-year survival grass is just a small matter. The Yang family will definitely not mistreat you in other aspects. I only need the 10-year survival grass," Zhou Donghuang said. In a moment, Zhou Donghuang brought Fu and followed Yang Zishi and his servant out of the medicine shop to the Yang family. Although the Yang family was a grand family, its mansion was much smaller than the mansion of the other grand family, the Wu family, which Zhou Donghuang had visited before. Of course, he could understand this. After all, this was the capital of the western ridge of the Chu King, and not the capital of a prefecture. The reason why the Grand Wu family estate occupied such a large area was not only because it was a prefecture capital, but also because the Wu family estate was also the governor's residence of Guangling Prefecture. As the number 1 family of Guangling Prefecture, the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, the Wu family's residence in Guangling Prefecture was naturally not shabby. Miss Zishi. After entering the Yang family mansion, the people they met along the way, whether they were maids or Yang family branch disciples, all respectfully bowed to Yang Zishi. "Up ahead is my uncle's residence." Very quickly, Yang Zishi and his servant brought Zhou Donghuang and his servant to the Yang family chief's residence, a spacious courtyard. Currently, there were 3 people standing in the courtyard. A middle-aged man, a young man, and an old man standing respectfully behind the young man. The middle-aged man was wearing a loose gray robe with golden edges. He was pacing back and forth in front of a room in the courtyard. His face was full of solemnity, and it was obvious that he was somewhat restless. The young man appeared to be in his early 20s. He wore a brocade robe, and his face was handsome yet cold. There seemed to be an innate arrogance between his brows. It was not difficult to see that he was a disciple of an extraordinary family. As for the old man behind the young man, he was just an old servant by his side. He had white hair and a skinny face, but his eyes were bright and full of expression. Third uncle. Yang Zishi walked into the courtyard first and bowed to the middle-aged man who was pacing in front of a room in the courtyard. "Zishi." Hearing the voice, the middle-aged man looked at Yang Zishi with a kind smile on his face. "Have you retrieved the 10-year survival grass?" Yang Zishi nodded. "Sister Zishi." At the same time, the young man's gaze also fell on Yang Zishi. The cold expression on his handsome face disappeared at this moment and was replaced by a warm smile. However, in the face of the young man's warmth, Yang Zishi only greeted him coldly, "Young Master Shi." It was obvious that Yang Zishi not only disliked this young man, but even repulsed him. However, the young man did not seem to mind, and the smile on his face did not change. That was until he noticed Zhou Donghuang, who had followed Yang Zishi in. Zhou Donghuang was dressed in a robe whiter than snow, and his handsome face completely outshone the young man. In particular, Zhou Donghuang's cold aura was like the first bloom of a lotus, giving off a mysterious and ethereal feeling. Whether in terms of appearance or aura, the young man paled in comparison to Zhou Donghuang. He was completely crushed. Sister Zishi, this is? The young man looked at Zhou Donghuang, his eyes flashing coldly. This was the first time he had seen a man so close to Yang Zishi. Yang Zishi was the woman he fancied, and it was not easy for him to get so close to Yang Zishi. Therefore, his cold eyes revealed a threatening look. However, Zhou Donghuang ignored it. Third uncle. At the same time, Yang Zishi glanced at Zhou Donghuang and introduced him to the middle-aged man. This is Medicine Master Zhou, whom I brought back from outside. He is here to treat eldest uncle. With that, she introduced the middle-aged man to Zhou Donghuang. Medicine Master Zhou, this is my third uncle, the third master of the Yang family, Yang Yunchong. Medicine Master Zhou? Yang Yunchong looked Zhou Donghuang up and down, his face full of surprise. It was not difficult for him to see that the youth before him was at most 16 or 17 years old, not much older than his niece, Yang Zishi. However, at this age, even if he had studied medicine, he would at most be an inferior-level medicine master. But he knew his niece well, and she was not a rash person. Since he had brought Zhou Donghuang back, it meant that he had to have some redeeming qualities, so he greeted him with a smile. Medicine Master Zhou. Zhou Donghuang nodded slightly in response to Yang Yunchong's greeting. Pfft! A burst of mocking laughter resounded without any warning. It was the young man standing at the side, looking at Zhou Donghuang with a mocking smile. Kid, at your age, you are at most an inferior-level medicine master? You are just an inferior-level medicine master, and you dare to talk nonsense about treating Patriarch Yang? Do you know that Patriarch Yang's illness is not a minor illness, but that he has been poisoned? Now, I have already invited Medicine Master Xiao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, to treat Chief Yang and detoxify him. There is no need for you here, you may leave. Medicine Master Xiao. Yang Zishi could not help but exclaim, then looked at Yang Yunchong. Third uncle, is Medicine Master Xiao inside treating eldest uncle? Yang Yunchong smiled and nodded. Medicine Master Xiao has been away for more than a year, and has just returned today when he was invited here by young Master Shi. Although Medicine Master Xiao is not the best medicine master among the top 10 medicine masters in the Chu royal city, he is the best at treating poisons. In terms of treating poisons, even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court may not be able to compare to him. With him around, there is great hope for Big Brother's poison. At this point, Yang Yunchong paused, then smiled bitterly and said, if even he can't do anything, then there is no way to cure Big Brother's poison. Hearing Yang Yunchong's last words, Yang Zishi's expression became solemn, and he muttered, there will be a way. Medicine Master Xiao will definitely find a way. Kid, did you hear that? At the same time, the young man looked at Zhou Donghuang with a mocking smile and said, if even Medicine Master Xiao can't cure Patriarch Yang, then as an inferior-level medicine master, there is no way you can. However, whether it was just now or now, Zhou Donghuang did not even look at the young man. Even if the young man continued to mock him, Zhou Donghuang ignored him. You dare to ignore me, Shiryu? Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was ignoring him, Shiryu's expression turned ugly. He, Shiryu, was the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family, the successor of the Shi family's next patriarch. Even the patriarch of the Grand Yang family had to address him respectfully as young Master Shi. Creak, just as Shiryu was about to explode in anger, the door to the room in front opened, and an elderly figure walked out slowly. This was an old man in a gray robe of medium build. Although his hair and eyebrows were all white, he looked like he was only 40 or 50 years old. Medicine Master Xiao. Seeing the old man come out, Yang Yunchong hurried forward and asked with a serious expression, can the poison in my big brother be cured? Yang Zishi, who had followed Yang Yunchong, looked at the old man with clenched fists, her eyes filled with anticipation. Shiryu glanced coldly at Zhou Donghuang, then walked towards the old man. Third Master Yang, I can't tell what kind of poison Patriarch Yang has been poisoned with, but the poison is extremely terrifying. Moreover, it has already permeated Patriarch Yang's entire body. In the past 6 months, if it wasn't for the 10-year survival grass, Patriarch Yang would have died 4 months ago. The old man shook his head. Furthermore, the constant supply of 10-year survival grass has caused Chief Yang's body to develop a strong resistance to it. At most, he can take 1 or 2 10-year survival grass, and it will not have any effect on Chief Yang. 1 month. Chief Yang can only hold on for 1 more month. Prepare for his funeral. The old man sighed. What? Yang Yunchong's expression changed. He had not expected such an outcome. Yang Zixi face turned extremely pale, and her body went limp, almost collapsing to the ground. Luckily, the lady behind her caught her in time. Just then, Zhou Donghuang made his move. He walked past them and entered the room that the old man had just come out of. "HM?" The old man was taken aback and looked at Yang Yunchong doubtfully. Third Master Yang, who was that? Chapter 75. An inferior-level medicine master? Hearing Shiryu's words, Medicine Master Zhao's expression changed, and he looked sternly at Yang Yunchong. Third Master Yang, was that youth really there to treat Chief Yang's illness? Medicine Master Xiao, Yang Yunchong was a little embarrassed. After all, if he were in Medicine Master Zhao's shoes, he would definitely be unhappy, but he still nodded in the end. After all, that youth was someone his niece, Yang Zixi, had brought back to treat his big brother. He could not possibly chase after him and chase him away now, could he? Although he did not think that the youth could cure his big brother's poison, since the old man before him could do nothing, there was no harm in letting him try. Medicine Master Xiao, that Medicine Master Zhou who just went in is quite capable. Just then, the middle-aged woman behind the young girl spoke. Oh. Medicine Master Xiao was so angry that he laughed. He looked at the woman with interest and asked, "Then I'd like to hear, just what kind of ability does that 16 or 17-year-old kid have?" Medicine Master Xiao, you are an intermediate-level medicine master, so if I may be so bold as to ask, if you can tell what illness I have just by looking at me? The woman asked. Previously, in the medicine shop, the youth in white had only taken a few glances at her to be able to tell that she had an unmentionable illness, and he had even described her condition clearly. She had not even heard of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city having such ability. How could he tell what illness you have just by looking at you? Medicine Master Xiao said calmly. Unless it's a visible illness, even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court would not be able to tell with just a few glances. Are you trying to tell me, that kid who just went in was able to tell what illness you have just by looking at you? Medicine Master Xiao said with a mocking smile. That's right. The woman nodded seriously. He just looked at me a few times and was able to tell. Ridiculous. However, Medicine Master Xiao did not believe her at all. After looking at her as if she was an idiot, he looked at Yang Yunchong and said, Third Master Yang, from today onwards, I, Xiao Chen, will not step into the Yang family, nor will I have any cooperation with the Yang family. Even if someone from the Yang clan dies of illness in front of me, I won't help them. With that, Medicine Master Xiao snorted coldly, flicked his sleeves, and left. This, Yang Yunchong smiled bitterly. Shiryu, is this what you want? Are you satisfied now? Yang Zixi's eyes were filled with anger as she stared at Shiryu. Her face was filled with hostility. If not for Shiryu fanning the flames and stirring up trouble, Medicine Master Xiao would not have been so hostile toward the Yang clan and even threatened not to work with the Yang clan or treat the Yang clan anymore. Sister Zixi, how can you blame me? Everything I said was the truth. If you hadn't brought that kid to the Yang family, Medicine Master Xiao wouldn't have met him. Shiryu shook his head. Young Master Shi, you can't blame Zishi for this. Yang Yunchong sighed. After all, she doesn't know that Medicine Master Xiao is here. After sighing, he began to console young Zishi. Zishi, don't take it to heart. Medicine Master Xiao has never worked with the Yang family, and even if he wanted to work with other families, he wouldn't be interested in us. As for the Yang family not seeking him for treatment, there are plenty of medicine masters in the Chu royal city, so it's fine even if they don't seek him out. Third uncle, you don't have to console me, this is indeed my fault. Yang Zishi sighed, but there was a hint of hope in her eyes. Because, as one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Medicine Master Xiao had actually said that even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court would not be able to detect a person's hidden illness just by looking at the surface. Didn't this mean that, even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court would not be able to detect her minor illnesses with just a few glances? That medicine master Zhou should be quite capable. I just don't know if he has a way to cure eldest uncle's poison. Although this was what she thought, Yang Zishi did not have much hope, because Medicine Master Xiao had also said that eldest uncle's poison had already entered his vitals. At this thought, Yang Zishi's face was filled with disappointment, and there was a look of pain and indignation in the depths of her eyes. She had lost her parents when she was young, and it was eldest uncle who had raised her. In her eyes, eldest uncle was no different from her father, except that they addressed each other differently. Because of this, ever since her eldest uncle had been poisoned half a year ago, she had been unable to sleep at night, and her body had also developed the minor illnesses that the youth had identified. Let's see if he has a way. Just as Yang Zishi led the woman behind her into the room, and Shi Yu and Yang Yunchong were about to follow. Two hurried voices suddenly rang out, causing them to subconsciously stop in their tracks. Third Master, I heard that young Master Shi has brought Medicine Master Xiao over, what's the situation? Third Master, Medicine Master Xiao is the best at curing poisons among the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city. Does he have a way? Accompanying the two voices were two old men. One was fat, and the other was thin, but their facial features were extremely similar. The fat one slimmed down, and the thin one slimmed down. They were almost exactly the same. Head elder, second elder. Seeing the two old men walk into the courtyard, Yang Yunchong hurried forward to greet them. The two men were the Lu family's head elder, Yang Ping, and second elder, Yang An. They were twin brothers, and at the same time, they were level 5 adepts of the Qi gathering, second only to the patriarch of the Yang family. Greetings, elders. Just as Yang Ping and Yang An were staring at Yang Yunchong, Shi Yu spoke up. Medicine Master Xiao is unable to cure the Yang family chief's poison. Only then did Yang Ping and Yang An notice Shi Yu, but before they could greet him, their expressions changed at Shi Yu's words. Even Medicine Master Xiao, who was said to be as good at curing poisons as the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court, was unable to cure the Yang family chief. Didn't that mean that there was no way to cure the poison in the Yang family chief? Just then, Yang Yunchong spoke up. Head elder, second elder. Medicine Master Xiao said that Big Brother has consumed too much 10-year survival grass and has developed a resistance to it. After 1 or 2 more 10-year survival grass, the 10-year survival grass will be useless to him. Hearing Yang Yunchong's words, Yang Ping and Yang An's expressions darkened even further. Does the heavens really want the Yang family to become a preeminent family again? After a moment, Yang Ping recovered and sighed with a bitter smile. 2 elders. At the same time, Shi Yu continued, Medicine Master Xiao not only said that he was unable to cure the Yang family chief, before he left, he even said that he would never work with the Yang family in the future, and that he would not treat anyone from the Yang family. Even if someone from the Yang family died in front of him, he would not care. Yang Yunchong frowned slightly. He had not expected that Shi Yu would still be fanning the flames at this time. Of course, Shi Yu was the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family, and even Yang Yunchong did not dare to offend him. Therefore, although he was displeased, he did not say anything. What? What's going on? Hearing Shi Yu's words, both Yang Ping and Yang An's expressions changed once again. When they understood the ins and outs of the matter from Shi Yu, their expressions became even uglier. Preposterous. A youth of at most 16 or 17 years old, at most an inferior-level medicine master, how could he have the ability to cure the Yang family chief? I used to think that Lady Zixi was quite reliable, but how could she be so muddle-headed in this matter? With that, Yang Ping and Yang An walked into the room where the Yang family chief was staying. Immediately, Yang Yunchong and Shi Yu, as well as the old servant behind Shi Yu, followed. Inside the room, an old man who looked to be in his 60s or 70s was lying on the bed. And he was the current chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. The old man's face was thin and wrinkled, and it was impossible to tell that he was only in his 40s. Yang Yunji was only 47 years old this year. Zhou Donghuang stood in front of the bed and looked at Yang Yunji calmly. After a round of diagnosis and treatment, he already had a very clear understanding of the situation in Yang Yunji's body. The patriarch of the Yang clan had been poisoned by a snake. Moreover, this snake poison was left behind by an extremely rare venomous snake. Patriarch Yang, you've been poisoned by the venom left behind by the datura snake. Zhou Donghuang told Yang Yunji. Shameless boasting. Just as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, an elderly voice rang out in the room, and two old men, one fat and one skinny, entered the room one after the other. The person who spoke was the fat old man who had walked in first. First elder, second elder. Seeing the two old men, one fat and one thin, Yang Zixi hurriedly saluted them respectfully. Miss Zixi, how could you bring such a young boy back to treat the family head? Now, you've offended Medicine Master Xiao. Yang An, who followed behind Yang Ping, looked at Yang Zixi and frowned slightly. Although we can look for other pharmacists to treat our family. But what if someone was accidentally poisoned? Medicine Master Xiao's specialty is detoxification. His ability to detoxify is unparalleled in the entire country of Yunyang. Today, the Yang family has offended him, and this is undoubtedly a huge problem. As he spoke, Yang An's tone darkened slightly. Pfft! Before Yang Zixi could speak, Fu, who was standing behind Zhou Donghuang, could not help but burst out laughing. This medicine master Xiao that you speak of, he can't even detoxify your chief's poison, and he dares to say that he's an expert in detoxification? What a joke! Just as Yang An was glaring at Fu, Yang Ping looked at Zhou Donghuang unkindly. Boy, after our chief was poisoned, there were no snake bites on his body. On what basis do you say that he was poisoned by a snake? Chapter 76. If you haven't heard of it, then I can only say that you are ignorant. Zhou Donghuang had not intended to bother with the head elder of the Yang family, but seeing that he could not stop once he started talking, Zhou Donghuang looked at him disdainfully and said calmly. The datura snake was a very rare venomous snake. The datura snake was different from other venomous snakes that poison people by biting them. It breathed venom through its nose, causing people to unknowingly breathe it in and be poisoned. As Yang Ping's expression changed, Zhou Donghuang looked at the Yang family chief, Yang Yunji, who was lying on the bed and said calmly, I can cure the snake venom in the Yang family chief. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, the entire room fell silent. Even the head elder of the Yang family, Ong Ping, who had been prepared to reprimand Zhou Donghuang, shut his mouth tightly at this moment. He looked at Zhou Donghuang in disbelief, his eyes shining with suspicion. This young man said that he could cure the poison in the Yang family chief. Medicine Master Zhou, is this true? Yang Yunchong, who had just entered the room, heard Zhou Donghuang's words and was the first to recover from his shock. He asked Zhou Donghuang with a serious expression. If my young master says he can cure it, naturally he can. Fu, who was standing behind Zhou Donghuang, said impatiently when he saw that there was still someone questioning his young master. In his eyes, his young master was like a god, omnipotent. Someone doubting his young master was an insult to his beliefs, and he could not tolerate it. Medicine Master Zhou, please cure my uncle. Yang Zishi looked at Zhou Donghuang excitedly after she recovered. Although they had not known each other for long, it was not difficult for her to see that Zhou Donghuang was not someone who spoke without thinking. Medicine Master Zhou, can you really cure my poison? Yang Yunji, who was lying on the bed, tried hard to open his eyes, and there was a rare glimmer of hope in his dim gaze. I don't want to repeat what I said a second time. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Yang Yunji, then looked at Yang Zishi and said, I need 36 2-inch-long pure gold needles. The thinner the better, and they must not be bent at all. Prepare them in 3 days. I can completely cure the snake venom in his body in 10 days. Zhou Donghuang said. Before Yang Zishi could say anything, Yang Yunchong looked at Yang An and said, Second Elder, you're in charge of the family's gold shop, please prepare the golden needles that Medicine Master Zhou mentioned. All right. Yang An answered and left. Although he didn't really believe that this young man could cure the Yang family head's poison, even Medicine Master Xiao couldn't do anything about it. He could only try his best. Ah Fu, pen and paper. When Fu took out a pen and paper and handed it to Zhou Donghuang wrote down the names and quantities of a bunch of herbs and handed it to Yang Zishi. Gather all of these herbs within 3 days. After I detoxify the poison in your Yang family head, I'll need to use these herbs to boil soup for him to drink. With this medicinal soup, when the snake venom in his body is completely cleared, it will also be the day his body recovers to its peak. Zhou Donghuang said. I'll take care of it. The head elder of the Yang family, Yang Ping, took the prescription from Yang Zishi's hands and left without looking back. This concerned the health of the Yang family head and the rise and fall of the Yang family. Even if he didn't really believe this young man, he was still prepared to follow his instructions and give it a try. If it worked, everyone would be happy. If it didn't work, he could settle the score with the young man later. Humph. In 3 days, I want to see how he will cure the Yang family head of the poison. Shi Yu, who had followed Yang Yunchong into the room, snorted when he saw that everyone in the Yang family believed the young man's words. He turned and left the Yang family with his old servant. Medicine Master Zhou, are you staying far from the Yang family? If not, why don't you stay here for the next 3 days? Yang Yunchong looked at Zhou Donghuang and asked. He had brought this up because he was worried that the young man in front of him might not be able to find him after making such a big promise. If the young man was willing to stay, he would undoubtedly believe what the young man had just said. I just arrived in the Chu royal city and am temporarily staying at an inn, Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Zhou Donghuang said lightly, that inn is quite a distance from here. Yang Yunchong's eyes lit up, and he took advantage of the opportunity to extend an invitation. Medicine Master Zhou, why don't you get someone to check out of the inn? The environment of the Yang family's guest rooms is much better than that inn's. Yang Yunchong stared at Zhou Donghuang. That's good. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Seeing Zhou Donghuang agree so readily, Yang Yunchong could not help but feel excited, because this also meant that the young man was most likely someone with real ability. Otherwise, he would not have agreed to stay in the Yang family. Zishi, go with Auntie Mei to arrange a guest room for Medicine Master Zhou. Next, Yang Yunchong left the task of arranging Zhou Donghuang to Yang Zishi. Yang Zishi now saw Zhou Donghuang as her uncle's only hope. She warmly brought Zhou Donghuang to the guest rooms and specially arranged the best courtyard for Zhou Donghuang. Medicine Master Zhou, you said you just arrived in the Chu royal city? You're not from the Chu royal city? Yang Zishi asked curiously. No. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Medicine Master Zhou, I see that you are only 1 or 2 years older than me, why don't I call you Brother Zhou? You don't have to call me Miss Yang, just call me Zishi. Yang Zishi smiled. Zhou Donghuang nodded slightly. To him, it did not matter what he called her. Brother Zhou, how should I treat it? Thinking of the unmentionable illness that the young man had mentioned, Yang Zishi asked shyly. Her cheeks had once again turned bright red, and her lovely appearance was pitiful. It's just a minor illness. When the golden needles are ready, I'll give you a few injections and you'll be cured, Zhou Donghuang said casually. Zhou Donghuang said nonchalantly, however, you still need to adjust your work, rest, and mood to ensure that it doesn't relapse. As for you. Zhou Donghuang's gaze quickly fell on the woman behind the young girl. Tomorrow morning, come and get the prescription, take it according to my prescription for 3 days, and your pain will lessen. Take it for a month, and your unmentionable illness will be cured. Zhou Donghuang said. Thank you, Medicine Master Zhou. The woman thanked him profusely, her face full of joy. Auntie May, you go ahead. I'll stay here and talk to Big Brother Zhou. The young girl said to the woman. Yes, Mississippi, the woman acknowledged and left. After the woman left, the young girl was about to kneel before Zhou Donghuang, but Zhou Donghuang stopped her in time. He frowned and asked, What are you doing? Big Brother Zhou, I want to thank you for curing my uncle. The girl said. You don't have to thank me. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. I helped cure Chief Yang of the poison only for the sake of your family's 10-year survival grass, it was not for free. Big Brother Zhou, let alone 1 stalk of 10-year survival grass, even if it were 10 stalks, the Yang family would not be able to repay your kindness. The young girl said seriously, you saved my uncle, which is equivalent to saving the entire Yang family. If her uncle were to die from this poison, the entire Yang family would be reduced from a grand family to a preeminent family, losing its former glory. Of course, she did not care whether the Yang family was a grand family or a preeminent family. As long as her uncle was safe, even if the Yang family was reduced to a lesser family, she could accept it. All she cared about was her uncle's safety. Furthermore, this kneel of mine is not on behalf of the Yang family, but on behalf of myself. Finally, the young girl insisted on kneeling and bowed to Zhou Donghuang. My parents died when I was young, and it was my uncle who raised me. In my eyes, he is my father. Seeing the stubbornness on the young girl's face, even Zhou Donghuang could not help but be moved. In front of this young girl, Chen Dandan was not even human. Don't worry. In half a month, your uncle will be safe and sound. Zhou Donghuang helped the young girl up. When he spoke again, his tone was not as cold as before, but much gentler. In some ways, the young girl resonated with him and gained his approval. Thank you, Big Brother Zhou. Ever since Yang Zishi could remember, this was the first time she had been so close to a man. Instantly, the blush on her cheeks became more pronounced. At the same time, she felt a little strange. Normally, she would be extremely disgusted by those good-for-nothings like Yu and avoid them. However, she didn't feel the slightest bit of disgust towards the youth before her. So much so that when the young man helped her up and let go of her to take a step back, she felt an inexplicable sense of loss in her heart. Because, when the young man helped her up, she did not know why, but she felt a strong sense of security. It was as if she was beside the young man, even if the sky fell down, she would not be afraid. Once the young man left, this sense of security disappeared. At that moment, she felt as if she had become a lone boat in the vast ocean, alone and without anyone to rely on. Brother Zhou, where are you from? Furthermore, the young man's abilities made Yang Zishi respect him from the bottom of her heart. She was very curious as to where this young man had come from. Yunfeng Prefecture. Zhou Donghuang said. Yunfeng Prefecture? Yang Zishi was taken aback, because she had never heard of such a prefecture. She had heard of all the prefectures in the country of Yunyang, whether they were superior or intermediate prefectures. She only did not know much about the inferior prefectures. Brother Zhou, you are not from the country of Yunyang? Yang Zishi did not think that Zhou Donghuang was from an inferior prefecture, because she felt that an inferior prefecture could not possibly produce someone like Zhou Donghuang. Chapter 77. Yunfeng Prefecture is just an inferior prefecture, it's normal that you have not heard of it. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Seeing the young girl's reaction, it was not difficult for him to tell that she had not heard of Yunfeng Prefecture. Inferior prefecture? Hearing the youth's words, Yang Zixi face froze. Her dazed expression was very cute, and Zhou Donghuang could not help but look at her a few more times. Zhou Donghuang nodded. I set off from the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture and traveled for more than 5 months before arriving at the Chu royal city. Back then, he had left the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture on the 1st of April 1228 of the Ziyun era. And today was already the 10th of September 1228 of the Ziyun era. More than 5 months. I wonder how Mother and Xiao Lu are doing. Thinking of Lin Lan and Yun Lu, Zhou Donghuang's face showed a rare gentleness, and Yang Zixi could not help but feel jealous. Ever since she had met the youth before her, he had always been cold and did not like to speak, as if he did not care about anything. But now, he seemed to have thought of someone, and a gentle expression like water actually appeared on his indifferent face. Brother Zhou, are you thinking of sister-in-law? Yang Zixi asked tentatively, and as soon as the words left her mouth, she regretted it. She even felt it was strange that she had suddenly asked such a question. At that moment, she could not help but feel awkward, and she lowered her head, not daring to look at the youth again. Sister-in-law? Zhou Donghuang was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. Just now, I was thinking of my mother and sister. Are they in Yunfeng Prefecture now? Yang Zixi's eyes lit up. Only now did she realize that she had misunderstood. But even she did not know why she had been jealous just now. Was it because the youth was not like other men of the same age who fawned over her like stars surrounding the moon? Zhou Donghuang nodded. She chatted with Zhou Donghuang for a while until Fu returned. Only then did the young lady reluctantly bid farewell to Zhou Donghuang. Big brother Zhou, I'll go back first. I won't disturb you any longer. Yang Zixi rarely chatted so much with others. Even she did not know why a youth she had met on their first day could make her feel so good about him. The young man seemed to have an innate charm. What she did not know was that although Zhou Donghuang had the body of a young man, his memories spanned thousands of years. Under such circumstances, the aura he exuded was not something his peers could have. Zhou Donghuang's aura, as well as his usual aloofness, was extremely lethal to a young girl who had just experienced love. All right. Zhou Donghuang nodded and watched the girl leave. He only retracted his gaze when she disappeared from his sight. Young master. After the girl left, Fu looked at Zhou Donghuang with a smile. Have you taken a liking to Lady Zixi? What nonsense are you spouting? Zhou Donghuang glared at Fu and asked unhappily, did you bring everything from the inn? I've brought them all. Apart from the carriage pulled by the 3 Fergana horses and the dark steel heavy spear, there's nothing else that needs to be brought over. Fu nodded and continued with a smile, young master, I think Lady Zixi is not bad, the Yang family disciple who sent me to the inn told me quite a bit about her. She is a good girl who knows how to repay kindness with kindness. To a certain extent, she is even more competent than the biological daughter of the Yang family chief. In this aspect, Chen Dandan, who betrayed Madame, cannot compare. Although Fu had not experienced Chen Dandan's situation, he knew that there was a person who had disregarded his Madame's upbringing and betrayed his Madame in a cruel way. Chen Dandan? Hearing Fu mention Chen Dandan, Zhou Donghuang's expression darkened, and his eyes flashed coldly. She is not fit to be compared to Zixi. Young master, I still don't understand. Back then, when we reached the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture, we could have gone to the Hong family and humiliated Chen Dandan, or even killed her. But you did not go. Fu asked the question that had been bothering him for a long time. Humiliating her, killing her, it was all very simple, but I did not intend to do that to her in the Hong family or in Yunfeng Prefecture. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly. The higher she stands, the harder she falls. Now, I'll let her go higher. When she can't go higher anymore, I'll let her fall down. The pain then will make her feel even more deeply. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang grinned. His smile was so evil that Fu could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. In his previous life, when Zhou Donghuang left Earth and returned to Ziyun, he had looked for Chen Dandan. In the end, he had discovered Chen Dandan had not died of old age in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture of Yunyang Country, but in the small sect called the Valley of the Medicine Masters, which was superior to Yunyang Country. After some investigation, he had found out, it turned out that Chen Dandan's biological father was actually the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Chen Tianhe. Chen Dandan was the illegitimate daughter of the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Chen Tianhe. She had wandered into the inferior Yunfeng Prefecture of Yunyang Country and had been adopted by his mother, Lin Lan. Later, it was the preeminent Hong family of Yunfeng Prefecture who had sent her to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to reunite with her father. It's better to end things with her in the Valley of the Medicine Masters than in Yunfeng Prefecture. It was because of this that Zhou Donghuang had not rushed to the Hong family to look for Chen Dandan when he had first arrived in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture. He had planned to go to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to settle the score with Chen Dandan in the future. After Chen Dandan has obtained the identity of the daughter of the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, when she is at her peak, I will destroy everything she has, plunge her into endless despair and regret, and then kill her. Only then will I be able to dispel the hatred in my heart. This was Zhou Donghuang's plan. Otherwise, when he had been in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture, he could have gone straight to the Hong family to humiliate and kill Chen Dandan. Chen Dandan, you should be thankful that you have a biological father who is the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, otherwise, you would have been dead in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and he laughed coldly in his heart. Ziyun Era, Year 1228, Early Morning. Brother Zhou. 2 days later, Yang Zishi came to look for Zhou Donghuang. Second Elder has already prepared the golden needles that you requested, and Head Elder has also gathered the herbs that you requested. Can you start treating my uncle today? The young girl looked at Zhou Donghuang expectantly. That second elder of the Yang family is quite efficient. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. Let's go together. Yesterday, Yang Zishi had come to chat with him and even brought him around the Yang family household. After 2 days, he had developed a good impression of this straightforward and grateful young girl. Not long after, Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi once again arrived at the residence of the chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. In the courtyard of Yang Yunji's residence, the third master of the Yang family, Yang Yunchong, the head elder of the Yang family, Yang Ping, and the second elder of the Yang family, Yang An, were already waiting there. In addition, Shiyu was also present. These 2 days, in his conversations with Yang Zishi had also mentioned Shiyu, so Zhou Donghuang knew who he was. Shiyu was the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family of the Chu royal city. Although the Shi family was at the bottom of the Tycoon families, they had a level 8 adept in their ranks, and a grand family like the Yang family could not compare to them. And the reason why Shiyu was so diligent in visiting the Yang family was because of Yang Zishi. He wanted to marry Yang Zishi. In fact, he had already proposed marriage to the chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji, and Yang Yunji had been tempted, but Yang Zishi had rejected him harshly, even threatening to kill himself. Seeing this, Yang Yunji did not dare to force him further, and could only let nature take its course. From Yang Zishi, Zhou Donghuang found out that Shiyu was a spoiled brat, and in the Chu royal city, many good-looking girls from ordinary families had been ruined by him. No less than 100 girls had chosen to commit suicide because of his infidelity. On the planet of Ziyun, the people were simple and conservative, and girls who had their chastity ruined would not be able to marry again unless they came from a powerful family. Because of this, Yang Zishi hated Shiryu very much, but in order not to implicate the Yang family, she did not dare to offend him. Sister Zishi. Seeing Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi walk side by side, Shiryu looked at Zhou Donghuang coldly, but when he looked at Yang Zishi, his face was full of smiles. However, Yang Zishi only glanced at him coldly and ignored him. Shiryu was already used to this and did not mind. But when his gaze returned to Zhou Donghuang, he could not help but laugh coldly. Rascal, I didn't expect you to really dare to come. I want to see how you can cure a poison that even Medicine Master Xiao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, cannot. As he spoke, Shiryu's face was full of schadenfreude. However, from beginning to end, Zhou Donghuang did not even look at Shiryu as he walked into the courtyard and looked at Yang Yunchong and the other two. Where are the golden needles? Here. The second elder of the Yang family, Yang'an, handed the embroidered box to Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang opened it and immediately saw 36 2-inch-long golden needles neatly arranged in the box. The golden needles were very thin, and even compared to embroidery thread, they were not much thicker. Medicine Master Zhou, can I? Yang Yunchong, the third master of the Yang family, asked Zhou Donghuang nervously. Only when he saw Zhou Donghuang nod did he heave a sigh of relief. Other than Zishi, the rest wait outside. Just as Zhou Donghuang entered the room with the embroidered box, Yang Yunchong and the rest were about to follow, Zhou Donghuang's voice sounded from inside the room. Immediately, Yang Yunchong, Yang Ping, and Yang'an stopped in their tracks. Rascal, why are you acting so mysterious? I want to see how you will cure Chief Yang of the poison. Chapter 78. Inside the closed room, Yang Zishi's eyes were almost dazzled as she watched the young man perform acupuncture on her uncle. Swoosh! 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 In the hands of the youth, the 2-inch golden needle seemed to come to life, passing through his clothes and entering her uncle's body. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. Now, Zhou Donghuang was performing acupuncture on Yang Yunji, the chief of the Yang family, which he had learned on Earth in his previous life. In the past, he had used the godly needle of tendon changing and marrow cleansing on freezing wind, which was also an acupuncture technique. Of course, this time, he was not using the godly needle of tendon changing and marrow cleansing on Yang Yunji, but a technique called the Big Dipper detoxification needle. The Big Dipper detoxification needle could be used to detoxify and detoxify poison. It was a technique that he had stumbled upon on Earth in his previous life. Furthermore, the Big Dipper detoxification needle had very high requirements for the needles. They had to be 2-inch golden needles, and there had to be 36 of them, corresponding to the 36 Big Dippers. In Yang Zishi's eyes, the youth's movements were as fast as lightning. She could not even see how he performed the needles, and it was a blur to her. When she saw the youth slow down and stop, it was already an hour later. Now, all 36 golden needles were in Yang Yunji's body. Next, I will hit all the acupuncture points in your body, and with the help of the 36 golden needles, I will detoxify you. Zhou Donghuang looked at Yang Yunji and said lightly, this process will be a little painful. As long as you can bear with it, I will be able to successfully complete the first treatment today. Get ready, I will begin in 10 breaths. Zhou Donghuang looked at the young girl standing at the side in a daze and said with a smile, Zishi, inform the people outside, later, no matter what you hear in the room, do not barge in and disturb me from treating Chief Yang's poison. Otherwise, not only will it be a waste of effort, but it will also endanger Chief Yang's life. Zhou Donghuang's tone became more serious as he said this. The young lady was startled at first, but she quickly reacted and nodded. At the same time, she opened the door and walked out. After informing Yang Yunchong and the others, she returned to the room. By the time Yang Zishi closed the door, 10 breaths of time had passed. At the same time, she saw that the hands of the youth that stood before the bed had swiftly flashed out like a bolt of lightning, and it caused her to be dazzled once more. What was different this time was that there were no golden needles in the young man's hands. His hands alternated between fists and palms as they landed on her uncle's body. Bang! 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 As Zhou Donghuang's hands flashed out like lightning, his fists and palms intersected, landing on Yang Yunji's body. Immediately, a series of dull thuds rang out. In the beginning, although Yang Yunji felt intense pain all over his body, he still gritted his teeth and endured it. But in the end, the pain grew so intense that he could no longer hold it in and began to cry out. Each cry was more pitiful than the one before, sending chills down anyone's spine. If Yang Zishi had not gone out to inform them beforehand, Yang Yunchong and the others standing outside the room would have already barged into the room. Third Master Yang, elders, aren't you afraid that the kid will mess around and harm Chief Yang before the poison takes effect? Sure, you asked Yang Yunchong, Yang Ping, and Yang An as he listened to Yang Yunji's incessant cries. Young Master, sure, rather than waiting for my brother to take effect, I would rather let Medicine Master Zhou have a try. Yang Yunchong said expressionlessly, ignoring Shi Yu's attempts to fan the flames. Third Master Yang, from what you're saying, you're really pinning your hopes on that unknown kid? Shi Yu laughed disdainfully. That kid, even if he really is an inferior-level medicine master, how can he compare to Medicine Master Xiao in terms of detoxification? There's no way he can treat a poison that even Medicine Master Xiao is helpless against. Shi Yu said. Young Master Shi, he's already on the verge of saying that he can cure Chief Yang of the Zhao family. If he's unable to cure Chief Yang of the Zhao family today, we will not let him off easily. Yang Ping said in a low voice, for now, let him do as he pleases. That's right. Yang An nodded in agreement with Yang Ping's words. After about a quarter of an hour, Yang Yunji's cries finally stopped, and the room regained its peace. In the room, Yang Zishi stared with his mouth agape. Now, Zhou Donghuang was removing the 36 golden needles from Yang Yunji's body. Every time a golden needle was removed, a stream of black poisonous blood flowed out of Yang Yunji's body, staining the clothes nearby black. And with every stream of poisonous blood that flowed out, there was an obvious change in Yang Yunji's body. When Zhou Donghuang removed all 36 golden needles, about 1/5 of Yang Yunji's white hair had turned black. At the same time, the wrinkles on Yang Yunji's face had lessened significantly. Although he still looked old, he looked much younger than before. If the previous Yang Yunji looked like he was in his 60s or 70s, then the current Yang Yunji looked like he was in his early 60s at most. This is too amazing. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Yang Zishi would not have believed that someone could have such an ability. It was as if a person had become young again in just 2 hours. Amazing. Too amazing. At this moment, this was the only thought in Yang Zishi's mind. Your recovery is better than I thought. From tomorrow onwards, I'll perform acupuncture on you once a day. In another 4 days, you won't need me to perform acupuncture on you anymore. After Zhou Donghuang had placed all the golden needles into the box, he said to Yang Yunji, as long as you continue to take the medicine that I brewed for you every day, in at most 5 or 6 days, you will be back to your peak condition, both inside and out. At the same time, Yang Yunji recovered from his shock and hurriedly got off the bed and knelt on the ground, thanking Zhou Donghuang respectfully. Yang Yunji thanks Medicine Master Zhou for giving me a new lease of life. As the person involved, only he could feel the amazing changes happening to his body at this moment. In the past, he could feel his life draining away at every moment, and he was aging at every moment. That feeling made him despair. But now, he realized that his life was no longer draining away, and his body had become much younger. Although it was far from what it had been before he had been poisoned, he still felt full of energy. At this moment, Yang Yunji even felt as if he had returned to heaven from hell. He saw the hope of survival. Because of this, he was truly grateful to Zhou Donghuang for giving him the hope of survival, and he even knelt down to thank him. At this moment, he seemed to have forgotten that he was the chief of the Grand Yang family, and that the person before him was only a youth of about 16 or 17 years old. He only knew that this youth had saved his life. "Remember what I said." Zhou Donghuang glanced lightly at Yang Yunji, then smiled at Yang Zishi before pushing the door open and leaving the room. "Medicine Master Zhou, how is it?" Seeing Zhou Donghuang come out, Yang Yunchong, Yang Ping, and Yang An hurriedly went up to him. "Go in and see for yourself," Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Almost as soon as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, there was suddenly a hearty laugh from within the room. "Ha ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha." Hearing the laughter, Yang Yunchong and the other two's eyes lit up, and they rushed into the room immediately. "No, impossible." Hearing the hearty laughter from within the room, Yu looked at Zhou Donghuang in disbelief, and then followed him into the room. At the same time, Zhou Donghuang returned to his residence in the Yang family household. Yang Yunchong and the others walked into the room, and after seeing Yang Yunji's current state, they did not even need to ask to know what was going on. "Medicine Master Zhou is really amazing." Yang An looked away from the shock and gave a heartfelt compliment. Who would have thought that the poison that even Medicine Master Xiao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, could do nothing about, could be cured by a 16 or 17-year-old child? Yang Ping could not help but sigh. "Big brother, looking at you now, you must have recovered well?" Yang Yunchong asked excitedly as he looked at Yang Yunji with shining eyes. "Medicine Master Zhou said that starting tomorrow, in the next 4 days, he will give me 4 more acupuncture treatments, and the poison will be completely removed from my body." Yang Yunji's face was still filled with the excitement of surviving a disaster. It took him a long time to disperse. "As long as I keep drinking the medicine soup that he has prepared for me every day, in 5 or 6 days at most, I will be able to recover to my peak, both inside and outside." "Congratulations, uncle." The young girl stood at the side, a radiant smile on her beautiful face. She had not smiled so easily in a long time. "Zishi, you were the one who invited Medicine Master Zhou back, it is all thanks to you." Yang Yunchong looked at the young girl, his face full of affection. "That's right. Miss Zishi deserves the credit for curing the chief's poison this time." Yang Ping and Yang An also looked at the young girl, their faces full of kindness. "How is that possible? That kid is at most an inferior-level medicine master, how could he cure the chief of the Yang family of a poison that even Medicine Master Xiao could not?" Yu, who had followed Yang Yunchong and the others in, looked at Yang Yunji's head of black hair and youthful features, and his face and eyes were full of disbelief. After a moment, he recovered, and without saying goodbye to anyone, he led the old servant out of the room and left the Yang family. Humph. Chapter 79. After leaving the Yang family household, Yu first returned to the Shi family, and then went to find Xiao Chen, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city. Xiao Chen was an intermediate-level medicine master who had not joined any family. He had his own medicine shop in the Chu royal city, and because he was one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, his shop was doing very well. In addition, as one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city who was best at detoxification, Xiao Chen's shop almost monopolized the entire antidote market in the Chu royal city. Xiao Chen had not joined any family not because no family wanted him, but because he wanted his freedom and did not want to be tied down by any family. If he wanted, he could even join the Chu royal family and become one of the medicine masters there. Of course, his status in the Chu royal family would not be as high as in the tycoon families, because there were already many intermediate-level medicine masters in the Chu royal family. Him going to the Chu royal household was just icing on the cake for the Chu royal household. And joining a tycoon family would not be as high as joining a grand family. Joining a grand family was equivalent to giving them help in their hour of need. Medicine Master Xiao. Although Yu was used to being a spoiled brat, he was still very polite and courteous in front of Xiao Chen, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city. "Young Master Shi, why have you come looking for an old man like me again? If you want me to treat someone's poison, please leave." Because of what had happened at the Grand Yang family 2 days ago, Xiao Chen had grown to hate Shi, who had invited him to the Yang family, and he immediately asked him to leave. The Yang clan, after he said that he couldn't do anything about the Yang clan's patriarch's poison, they actually sent a low-level medicine master to treat the Yang clan's patriarch. Wasn't this doubting his ability and slapping his face? "Medicine Master Xiao, I apologize for what happened 2 days ago." Shi smiled apologetically and said, "I'm not here to ask for your help. I'm here to help you." "Help me?" Xiao Chen was amused, and his tone was non-committal. "What do I, Xiao Chen, need help from young Master Shi?" "Medicine Master Xiao, I'm afraid you still don't know. Just 2 days ago, the low-level medicine master that the Yang clan found, who is about 16 or 17 years old, helped Yang Yunji detoxify part of the poison." Shi narrowed his eyes. He was interrupted by Xiao Chen. "Impossible. Even I am powerless against Yang Yunji's poison. How could a low-grade apothecary like him be able to?" It was obvious that Xiao Chen did not believe Shi at all. "Medicine Master Xiao, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that kid could cure Yang Yunji's poison." Shi shook his head. "Today, after he cured Yang Yunji of the poison, I went in to take a look. At least 1/5 of Yang Yunji's white hair has turned back to black. In addition, he originally looked like he was at least 70 years old, but now, the wrinkles on his face have lessened a lot. He looks like he's at most in his early 60s. Hearing Shi's words, Xiao Chen's eyes narrowed. He stared at Shi and asked in a low voice, "Is this true?" Shi shook his head and said, "Medicine Master Xiao, if you don't believe me, you can go to the Yang family and see the patriarch yourself. I have no reason to lie to you about this." In addition, the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Yunji, said, "That kid will treat him for a few more days. After 5 or 6 days, not only will the poison in his body be completely expelled, but his entire body will be restored to its peak condition." As soon as he finished speaking, Shi gave Xiao Chen a meaningful look. "Medicine Master Xiao, if that kid really manages to cure Yang Yunji, I'm afraid your reputation will be ruined if word gets out. By then, the news will spread everywhere in the Chu royal city. You, Medicine Master Xiao, the best apothecary among the top 10 apothecaries of the Chu royal city, are not even as good as a 16 or 17-year-old boy. At that time, the business of your medicine store will definitely plummet." Hearing Shi's words, Xiao Chen's face, which had darkened slightly, suddenly turned pale. A tree had its bark, and a man had his face. Even if he did not care about the business of his medicine shop, Xiao Chen still valued his face. "I want to go to the Yang family mansion," Xiao Chen said in a low voice. "I'll go with you." Shi smiled. On the way to the Yang family mansion with Xiao Chen, Shi said, "Medicine Master Xiao, actually, even if this matter has already been resolved, there's still a way to salvage it." "What do you mean?" Xiao Chen asked curiously as he looked at Shi. "Medicine Master Xiao, think about it, even if that kid really treats Yang Yunji's poison, as long as the Yang family tells the public that it was not him, but you, the news will spread, and people will only say that you are capable." Shi smiled and said, "The poison in Yang Yunji's body was something that even the other 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city could do nothing about, but you were able to cure it. When that time comes, your reputation in the Chu royal city will definitely rise to another level." Xiao Chen's pupils shrank abruptly. "You mean to say that after that young man has cured Yang Yunji, I'll step in and let the Yang family take all the credit that should have belonged to that young man?" "That's right." Shi nodded. "That kid, and the Yang family, what right do they have to do that?" Xiao Chen asked in a low voice. "Don't worry about that kid. As for the Yang family, as long as the Shi family is willing to give them some benefits, they will naturally sell that kid out. Shi Yu said confidently. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Xiaochen seemed to understand something and looked at Shi Yu intently. Young Master Shi, you are setting me up, you want me to join the Shi family? That's right. Shi Yu nodded, not denying it. Humph. Xiaochen snorted. Even if you want to bribe me, without the Shi family's help, I can think of a way to get the Yang family to transfer all the credit from that kid to me. As an intermediate-level apothecary, he could also offer something that would interest the Yang family without the Shi family's help. Once the Shi family helped him, it would be equivalent to putting himself in the Shi family's crosshairs, and he was naturally unwilling. Apothecary Xiao, the problem is, you can bribe the Yang family, but can you bribe me? Shi Yu grinned. There was no lack of threat in his words. You? Xiaochen's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Sensing Xiaochen's murderous intent, Shi Yu did not care and said calmly, do you think I did not inform the Shi family before I went to look for you? After all, this concerns an intermediate-level apothecary joining the Shi family, and not just any intermediate-level apothecary, but one of the top 10 apothecaries of the Chu royal city, Apothecary Xiao. Shi Yu looked calm and unperturbed. Unless Xiaochen did not want to stay in the Chu royal city any longer, he would not dare to kill him. Humph. Xiaochen's eyes flashed with fear, and he said in a low voice, as for joining the Shi family, let's wait until we have confirmed that the lad can really cure Yang Yunji of the Yang family. Apothecary Xiao, when you see Yang Yunji later, you don't even have to wait to be sure that the lad can cure Yang Yunchong of the poison. Shi Yu smiled. Even now, he still remembered the shock he had felt when he had seen Yang Yunji in his room not long ago. Yang Yunji's transformation could even be described as rejuvenation. Soon, Shi Yu and Xiaochen arrived at the Yang family household. The Yang family juniors guarding the main entrance of the Yang family household recognized Shi Yu and naturally did not dare to stop them, allowing them to enter. How is this possible? When Xiaochen saw Yang Yunji again, it was as if he had seen a ghost. His face was full of shock, and the disbelief in his eyes did not fade for a long time. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed that a person could change so dramatically in just 2 days. At this time, he was completely sure that Shi Yu had not been exaggerating. Everything was exactly as Shi Yu had described. Chief Yang, let me check for the poison in your body. Xiaochen took a deep breath and suppressed his surging emotions. He then used his own method to examine the poison in Yang Yunji's body. He found that the poison in Yang Yunji's body had been reduced by nearly 30%. Furthermore, it was well suppressed and had stopped spreading. Chief Yang, that young man, did he tell you what poison you were poisoned with? Xiaochen asked. Although Xiaochen could not do anything about his poison, Xiaochen was still one of the top 10 apothecaries of the Chu royal city, and Yang Yunji did not dare offend him. He said honestly, Apothecary Zhou said I was poisoned by a snake. Snake poison? Xiaochen said without hesitation, that's impossible. 2 days ago, when he had checked for the poison in Yang Yunji, he had checked Yang Yunji's body, and there had been no bite marks from a poisonous snake. Furthermore, if he had been bitten by a snake, Yang Yunji would have felt it, and would have told him. At first, I thought it was impossible too. Yang Yunji sighed. After all, I was not bitten by a snake, and there were no bite marks on my body. But Apothecary Zhou said that it was a poisonous snake that breathes poison, and that there is no need for a bite to transmit the poison. He also said, the poisonous snake that transmitted the poison to me is called a datura snake. Yang Yunji finished in one breath. Datura snake? Xiaochen frowned. He racked his brain for a long time, but he could not remember the name of such a poisonous snake. Looks like he just happened to know what poison it was, and he helped Yang Yunji detoxify the poison. Thinking of this, Xiaochen felt relieved. This did not mean that the other party was better than him, but that he had been lucky enough to know how to detoxify the poison. Chief Yang, farewell. After bidding farewell to Yang Yunji, Xiao Chen and Shi Yu left the Yang family mansion together. As soon as they left, Shi Yu asked with a smile, "Apothecary Xiao, do you think that the young man will be able to detoxify Yang Yunji? I'll go with you to the Shi family." Chapter 80. After returning from Yang Yunji's place, Zhou Donghuang did not practice, but sat at the stone table in the courtyard, drinking tea as he basked in the sun. "Brother Zhou." Accompanied by a gentle and melodious voice, a slender and beautiful young girl appeared in Zhou Donghuang's line of sight. It was Yang Zishi. "Sit." Zhou Donghuang smiled and gestured for Yang Zishi to sit. Perhaps because of the incident with Chen Dandan, he had a good impression of this young girl who knew how to repay kindness. Of course, it was just a good impression, and no other feelings were mixed in. "Brother Zhou, uncle and third uncle asked me to give this to you." The young girl placed the brocade box on the stone table and pushed it towards Zhou Donghuang, opening it at the right time to show it to him. The 10-year survival herb in the brocade box also appeared in front of Zhou Donghuang. "The poison in the Yang family chief's body has not been completely detoxified, and you're already giving me this 10-year survival herb? Aren't you worried that I'll fail?" Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled. "Brother Zhou, you must be joking." The young girl laughed lightly. Based on the abilities that the youth had demonstrated in front of her today, she was certain that he would be able to completely detoxify her uncle's poison. "Brother Zhou, how do you have such great abilities? Where did you learn those skills from?" the young girl asked curiously. Today, the young man in front of her could be said to have dazzled her eyes and shocked her to the point that she felt like a celestial being. In her opinion, such abilities could not be mastered without 8 to 10 years of hard work. "I found an ancient book and learned it by myself." Zhou Donghuang was not lying, because in his previous life, he had indeed found an ancient book on acupuncture on Earth and learned it by himself. However, the young girl did not really believe Zhou Donghuang's words. She thought that Zhou Donghuang was unwilling to say, and did not pursue the matter. "Brother Zhou, Shi Yu from the Shi family returned today and brought Medicine Master Xiao over." Medicine Master Xiao is said to be the most skilled intermediate-level medicine master among the top 10 medicine masters in the Chu royal city. He was stunned to see uncle's appearance after you detoxified him. The young lady changed the topic and smiled as she shared the story with Zhou Donghuang. Perhaps he never dreamed that the poison that even he could not do anything about would be cured by a youth. The mandala snake is extremely rare. In the entire country of Yunyang, you might not even be able to find 10 of them. He might not even know the mandala snake, so how could he cure it? Zhou Donghuang was indifferent. Of course, there was one more thing he didn't say. If it was an ordinary poison, even if the source was unknown, an intermediate-level apothecary would also be able to neutralize it. However, the poison of the datura snake was something that only an existence of an earth-level apothecary or above would have the ability to neutralize. "Brother Zhou, are you really a low-rank apothecary?" the girl asked curiously. "Low-level apothecary?" Zhou Donghuang was taken aback at first, then he smiled faintly and asked, "Zishi, do you think that an inferior-level medicine master can cure your uncle?" "I can't." The young girl shook her head. She knew what a low-level alchemist was capable of. It was impossible for them to have the ability that the young man had displayed in front of her. In fact, even a mid-level apothecary might not have that ability. "Big brother Zhou, could it be that you are an intermediate apothecary?" The young girl's beautiful eyes widened, her beautiful face full of surprise as she asked. "No." Zhou Donghuang shook his head. "Superior-level apothecary?" the young girl asked again. Zhou Donghuang shook his head again. "Big brother Zhou, are you trying to tell me that you are an earth-level apothecary?" The young girl shook her head and asked with a smile. "Also no." Zhou Donghuang continued to shake his head. Big brother Zhou, are you trying to tell me that you are a heaven-level apothecary? The young girl asked with a bitter smile. In the entire history of the country of Yunyang, there had never been a heaven-level apothecary, but there had been one or two earth-level apothecaries. A heaven-level apothecary? Sort of. Zhou Donghuang thought for a moment and nodded. Adepts below the primal core stage were unable to use their inner yuan to condense the samadhi fire, and without the samadhi fire, they could not practice alchemy. A person, no matter how skilled and knowledgeable he was in alchemy, as long as he had not entered the primal core stage, he could at most be considered a heaven-level apothecary. Zhou Donghuang was in such a situation now. In his previous life, not only had he stood at the top of the universe in martial arts, but he had also stood at the top of the universe in alchemy, and no one was a match for him. But now, although he had the best knowledge of alchemy and medicine in the universe, because he had not entered the primal core stage, he could only be considered an apothecary, not a core forging master. A heaven-level apothecary? Barely considered? Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the young girl naturally did not believe him, thinking that he was joking. Big brother Zhou, you are really funny. Seeing that the young girl did not believe him, Zhou Donghuang did not say anything more. He had told the truth, and whether others believed him or not was not up to him. And he could not be bothered. After chatting with Zhou Donghuang for a while, the young girl took her leave. Big brother Zhou, I will come back tomorrow morning to visit uncle with you. After the young girl left, Zhou Donghuang returned to his room to formulate a new qi-gathering elixir. Although he could have formulated a qi-gathering elixir that could increase the sensitivity to qi by 9 times, he was not in a hurry to do so. He had been waiting for the Yang family's 10-year survival herb. Now that the 10-year survival herb was in his hands, he could directly formulate an ultimate qi-gathering elixir that could increase the sensitivity to qi by 10 times. With this ultimate qi-gathering elixir, the speed of my practice will be further increased. An hour later, in his room, Zhou Donghuang looked at the bottles of ultimate qi-gathering elixir before him, his eyes shining. With the help of this ultimate qi-gathering elixir, and then entering the undistracted state of practice of the Lord of the Four Supremes, my speed of practice will be even faster than before. At this thought, Zhou Donghuang's eyes shone even brighter. Of course, he knew that he could not enter that state of practice for the next few days, because, for the next 4 days, he would have to help the patriarch of the Yang family detoxify Yang Yunji's poison once a day. However, although he could not enter that state of practice for the next few days, Zhou Donghuang could not wait to consume the ultimate qi-gathering elixir and begin practicing. Now, in the process of practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes, he could clearly feel that the speed of practice had increased. Compared to before, it was a completely different matter. After practicing until late at night, Zhou Donghuang collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep. He woke up early the next morning and continued practicing. With Zhou Donghuang's current level of practice, he could not treat practice like sleep. In fact, in the boundless universe, only adepts who had attained the primal core stage and above could treat practice like sleep. After attaining the primal core stage, the body could enter a state of sleep when the primal core absorbed spirit energy and practiced. This process would not affect practice. Big brother Zhou. After practicing for about 2 hours, Zhou Donghuang heard the young girl's voice and immediately stopped practicing. He walked out of his room and once again went with the young girl to the residence of the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. Just like the day before, Zhou Donghuang left the young girl alone in the room and proceeded to detoxify Yang Yunji. In less than 2 hours, as Zhou Donghuang put the 36 golden needles back into the brocade box, Yang Yunji's robe was once again stained with black, poisoned blood. In addition, almost half of Yang Yunji's hair had turned black. Yang Yunji's face had many fewer wrinkles. After detoxifying the poison the day before, he looked to be in his early 60s, but now he looked even younger than that. Uncle, have a good rest. The young girl bade farewell to Yang Yunji and left with Zhou Donghuang, not lingering as she had the day before. The moment Zhou Donghuang and Yang Yunchong left, the third master of the Yang family, Yang Yunchong, entered the room and smiled at Yang Yunji, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed. "Big brother, that girl Zixi seems to have a good impression of Medicine Master Zhou. I've never seen her so close to any man of her age before. It's a pity he's from an inferior prefecture. Otherwise, I could consider betrothing Zixi to him." In front of Zhou Donghuang, Yang Yunji was very friendly, but now that he mentioned Zhou Donghuang, there was a hint of disdain in his eyes. His expression changed quickly. He had only found out from his niece, Yang Zixi, the day before. Zhou Donghuang came from the inferior Yunfeng prefecture. "Big brother, although he's from an inferior prefecture, he's not simple, he can even detoxify your poison. If he and Zixi get together and stay with the Yang family, he'll definitely be of great help to us," Yang Yunchong said. "He can detoxify my poison only because he knows the type of poisonous snake it is, so he knows how to detoxify its venom." Yang Yunji said lightly, "At his age, he's at most an inferior-level medicine master." Just an inferior-level medicine master, the Yang family doesn't lack one. Although Zhou Donghuang had demonstrated amazing acupuncture techniques in front of Yang Yunji, from Yang Yunji's point of view, it was just practice and did not prove anything. A 16 or 17-year-old youth, even if he had mastered such dazzling techniques, could not possibly become an intermediate-level medicine master. To become an intermediate-level medicine master, one's level of medicine had to pass. And how high could a youth's level of medicine be? "Chief, the chief of the Shi family is here." Just as Yang Yunji finished speaking, the voice of a Yang family disciple came from outside the room. He's accompanied by the young master of the Shi family, Shi Yu, and medicine master Xiao Chen. The chief of the Shi family? Hearing the Yang family disciple's words, Yang Yunji's eyes narrowed. What is he doing here? The Shi family was a tycoon family, and although it was one of the lowest tycoon families, it was not something that a grand family like the Yang family could compare to. He's accompanied by Shi Yu and Xiao Chen. Why do I feel that the chief of the Shi family's arrival has something to do with Medicine Master Zhou helping you detoxify your poison? Chapter 81. The Yang Family Household. In the drawing room. When Yang Yunji, the chief of the Yang family, and Yang Yunchong, the third master of the Yang family, arrived, there were already 3 people waiting for them in the drawing room. One of the 3 sat at the head of the table. He was a middle-aged man dressed in a dark gold robe. He was well-built, had a full beard, and looked dignified. He sat there like a high and mighty person. Although the newcomer was sitting at the head of the table, and it was suspicious that he had taken over the Yang family household, Yang Yunji and Yang Yunchong did not dare to express any displeasure. Not only did they not dare to express any displeasure, but they even bowed to the newcomer as soon as they entered. Yang Yunji pays his respects to Chief Shi. Yang Yunchong pays his respects to Chief Shi. Now, sitting at the head of the table was the chief of the Tycoon Shi family of the Chu royal city, Shi Hao. Besides being the patriarch of the Tycoon Shi family, Shi Hao was also a powerful level 7 adept of Qi gathering, second only to the level 8 adept of Qi gathering in the Shi family. Behind Shi Hao stood 2 people. One of them was his eldest son, Shi Yu, and the other was one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Xiao Chen. At this moment, looking at Yang Yunji, whose head of white hair had almost turned black, Xiao Chen's face was filled with shock, and his eyes were filled with incredulity and shock. Yesterday, when he had seen Yang Yunji, he had been in a different state. Today, Yang Yunji seemed to be a completely different person. Not just Xiao Chen, but even Shi Yu could not hide the shock on his face when he saw Yang Yunji. Of course, both Xiao Chen and Shi Yu realized that the poison in Yang Yunji's body must have been mostly neutralized. Chief Yang, based on the current situation, the poison in your body should be completely neutralized in another 2 or 3 days. Xiao Chen said, looking at Yang Yunji. Not bad. Hearing Xiao Chen mention this, Yang Yunji could not hide his excitement. In another 2 days, the poison in my body will be completely neutralized. This is all thanks to Medicine Master Zhou. Although he secretly looked down on that young man, he didn't dare to say anything on the surface. Otherwise, he, the dignified patriarch of the Yang family, would become a laughingstock for repaying kindness with enmity. That wasn't something he wanted to see. Medicine Master Zhou? Sure, you smiled as he looked at Yang Yunji. Patriarch Yang, I'm afraid your words are mistaken. It's obviously Medicine Master Xiao Chen's work. How can you say it's someone else's work? You'll become a laughingstock for being so ungrateful. After saying that, Sure, you looked at Yang Yunji deeply. Young Master Sure, what do you mean? Yang Yunji subconsciously frowned, and even Yang Yunchong couldn't help but look puzzled. He had no idea why Sure you would say such a thing. The young man with the surname Zhou was the one who cured his big brother's poison. Why did he say that it was Medicine Master Xiao Chen's doing? That's what I meant. Just as Yang Yunji and Yang Yunchong were in a daze, Shi Hao, the patriarch of the Tycoon Shi family, spoke up. His voice was like a great bell, carrying with it an unquestionable tone. Yang Yunji and Yang Yunchong instinctively looked at Shi Hao. Shi Hao looked at Yang Yunji and said calmly, in a few days, when the poison in your body is completely cured, as long as the Yang family announces that it was Medicine Master Xiao Chen who cured you, the Shi family will give the Yang family a medicine shop near the center of the Chu royal city. Almost at the same time Shi Hao finished speaking, Yang Yunji's eyes suddenly lit up, and his breathing instantly became hurried. A medicine shop near the center of the Chu royal city? Although the Yang family also had medicine shops in the Chu royal city, they were only in remote areas of the city. Compared to the medicine shops near the center of the city, they had very little business. The value of a medicine shop near the center of the Chu royal city was even higher than all the medicine shops owned by the Yang family combined. Patriarch Shi, is this true? Yang Yunji looked at Shi Hao with shining eyes and asked for further confirmation. Why? Are you doubting my words? Shi Hao laughed coldly. As the patriarch of a tycoon family, why would I lie to a grand family patriarch like you? What a joke. Patriarch Shi, please don't blame me, I was just too excited. Yang Yunji laughed awkwardly. Do you agree to this? Shi Hao asked calmly. Yes. Of course I agree. Yang Yunji nodded without hesitation, as if afraid that Shi Hao would go back on his word if he agreed too late. Big brother. At the same time, Yang Yunchong recovered and said to Yang Yunji with an ugly expression, if you agree to this, how will you tell Medicine Master Zhou? That doesn't seem very good. Besides, if Zishi knows about this, she will definitely not agree. Yang Yunchong voiced out his concerns. Yang Yunji laughed coldly. That Medicine Master Zhou is just a country bumpkin from an inferior level prefecture, just give him some silver, even if he is not satisfied, what can he do? Can he go against the Yang family? As for Zishi, she is just a little girl, what can she know? Yang Yunji said calmly. Yang Yunchong laughed bitterly, but did not say anything else. After all, the promise made by the patriarch of the Shi family was too tempting, and if he was in his brother's position, he might have chosen to agree. There is one more thing. Shi Hao continued, my son Shiryu has taken a liking to Yang Zishi of the Yang family. As long as the Yang family marries her to my son, the Shi family will provide the Yang family with valuable prescriptions in the future, and guarantee that the profits of all the medicine shops under the Yang family will more than double. Shi Hao's promise also tempted Yang Yunji, and his breathing stagnated. But he could only laugh bitterly at Shi Hao's conditions. Patriarch Shi, you don't know, my niece Zishi has a stubborn personality, and I have no way of forcing her to marry young Master Shi. If I had a way, I would have married Zishi to young Master Shi when he came to propose, but that girl Zishi threatened to kill herself, and I could not do anything about it." As Yang Yunji spoke, he let out a long sigh. He was sighing now, not only because of his helplessness at Zishi's stubborn personality, but also because the Yang family had missed out on the prescriptions that the Shi family could provide. "I heard this from my son." Shi Hao was not surprised by Yang Yunji's words, and said lightly, "So, Patriarch Yang, you have another choice. If she refuses to marry my son, as long as you expel her from the Yang family, and announce to the public that she is no longer a member of the Yang family, the Shi family can also provide the prescriptions to the Yang family." Shi Hao said. Yang Yunchong's expression changed at Shi Hao's words. Yang Yunji, on the other hand, looked at Shi Hao with shining eyes. "The prescription you provide will also double the profits of all the medicine shops under the Yang family?" When he saw Shi Hao nod, he immediately agreed. "All right. I agree. Big brother." Yang Yunchong had never imagined that his big brother would agree to this, and his expression darkened as he said in a low voice, "If you do this, how can you face the dead second brother? Don't forget, that year, second brother and second sister-in-law were killed by the horse bandits to save your life and protect you from them." As he spoke, Yang Yunchong's expression darkened. "Back then, even if second brother and second sister-in-law did not protect me, they would not have escaped death." Faced with Yang Yunchong's rebuke, Yang Yunji's expression did not change as he said indifferently, "It is true that they saved me, but all these years, I have also raised their only daughter. No matter what, we are even. Now that their daughter has grown up, it is only right for her to make some contributions to the family." Yang Yunji said matter-of-factly. Hearing Yang Yunji's words, Yang Yunchong said in a low voice, "I will not agree to this. It is not up to you whether you agree or not." Yang Yunji's cold gaze swept over Yang Yunchong. "I am the one in charge of the Yang family, not you. If you want to expel Zishi from the Yang family, then expel me as well." Yang Yunchong glared at Yang Yunji. "You don't care about her, I do." Noisy. Shi Hao shouted impatiently as soon as Yang Yunchong finished speaking. He rose from his seat and charged at Yang Yunchong like a cheetah. Bang! Yang Yunchong did not even have time to react before he was sent flying by Shi Hao's punch, crashing heavily into the wall of the living room and losing all signs of life. Yang Yunchong was only a level 5 adept of Qi gathering, and in front of a level 7 adept like Shi Hao, he could not withstand a single blow. Even if Shi Hao had not launched a sneak attack, Yang Yunchong would not have been able to withstand Shi Hao's blow. "Chief Yang, you don't mind if I help you clean up the Yang family?" After killing Yang Yunchong with one blow, Shi Hao looked at the dazed Yang Yunji and asked with a grin. Yang Yunji paled in fright and waved his hands hurriedly. I don't mind, thank you, Chief Shi, for helping us clean up the Yang family." Would he dare to mind? Shi Hao was an outstanding level 7 adept, and it would be easy for him to kill Zhou Donghuang. Of course, because of the ban imposed by the imperial court, Shi Hao would not dare to kill him, a grand family chief, but it would not be a problem to give him some physical pain. In the country of Yunyang, the great families were not allowed to wipe out their entire families or shake their foundations. Any family that rose to prominence only needed to register with the king's household as a family, and it would be equivalent to having the king's household as an umbrella. And behind the king's household was the imperial court. The imperial ban was enforced by all the king's households. And the reason for this ban was that the imperial court had the intention of establishing order in the country, with the aim of maintaining the stability of the country. Otherwise, with the killing of families everywhere, the people of Yunyang would not be able to make a living, and that was not what the imperial court wanted. As long as that slut is expelled from the Yang family, without the protection of the Yang family, she is destined to be a fish on my chopping board, at my mercy. Seeing that Yang Yunji had agreed, Shi Yu's eyes lit up. This request from his father was his suggestion, and it was a reward from his father. Chapter 82. Early morning, September 14, 1228 of the Ziyun era. Brother Zhou. Today was the third day that Zhou Donghuang was preparing to perform acupuncture on the head of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. The young lady had come looking for Zhou Donghuang early in the morning. Zhou Donghuang responded and walked out of the room. Together with the young girl, they went to Yang Yunji's residence. Where is third uncle? The young lady was a little surprised that she didn't see the Yang clan's third master, Yang Yunchong. Normally speaking, her third uncle would be present. I asked your third uncle to take care of something. He'll be back in a few days. The chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji, walked out of the room to welcome Zhou Donghuang and said kindly to the young girl. He then looked at Zhou Donghuang and bowed slightly, gesturing for him to enter the room. Medicine Master Zhou, please. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded and walked into the room first. Yang Yunji and the girl followed him inside. In less than 2 hours, Zhou Donghuang had finished another round of acupuncture for Yang Yunji. Tomorrow, I will come over to perform the last round of acupuncture for you, and then the poison in your body will be completely removed. At that time, as long as you take the prescription I've prepared and recover for 2 days, your body will be able to recover to its peak state. Zhou Donghuang said. Thank you, Medicine Master Zhou. Yang Yunji thanked her profusely. At this time, the remaining half of Yang Yunji's hair had turned white, and the other half had turned black. There weren't many wrinkles on his face, and he looked like he was at most in his early 50s. In just 3 days, he had turned from a 70-year-old to a 50-year-old. If word of this got out, it would definitely scare a lot of people. Of course, no one would believe it unless they saw it with their own eyes. Not long after Zhou Donghuang returned, just as he was about to start practicing, the young girl came looking for him again. This time, her expression was a little ugly. Zishi, what are you doing? Big brother Zhou, I just met 2 of our Yang family's elders, and I heard them talking about Big Uncle's rejuvenation. The girl said in a deep voice, they said that it was Medicine Master Xiao Chen who helped Uncle detoxify the poison. Big brother Zhou, you were the one who detoxified Uncle's poison. How can you say that Xiao Chen did it? I explained it to them, but they didn't believe me. They even said that a young man like you couldn't possibly have the ability to cure Uncle's poison. I asked them where they got the news from, and they said that they heard it from other elders. I got to the bottom of it and found the elder who spread the news. Do you know what he said? He said it was my uncle who told him that. How is this possible? So, I went to find my uncle. Sure enough, my uncle said that he didn't say anything like that. He even told everyone that Big Brother Zhou helped him detoxify the poison. Speaking up to this point, the young lady was still panting with anger as she consoled Zhou Donghuang, don't worry, Big Brother Zhou, Uncle has said that he will definitely punish the elder who spread the rumors. Zishi, you came, just for this? Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled, feeling that the young lady was making a mountain out of a molehill. To him, this was an insignificant matter. Even if the Yang family's patriarch, Yang Yunji, refused to acknowledge his contribution and said that it was someone else's work, he wouldn't care. This was because he had helped the Yang family patriarch cure the poison in order to obtain the 10-year survival grass. Brother Zhou, don't you think this is very infuriating? The girl said hatefully. Yes, it is indeed very infuriating. Zhou Donghuang smiled and nodded. His gaze on the young lady had unknowingly become even gentler. Although he did not care about that. However, the young lady's concern still made him feel a surge of warmth in his heart. Brother Zhou, my uncle doesn't know about this, please don't take your anger out on him. The young lady looked at Zhou Donghuang timidly and said softly. Don't worry. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the young lady heaved a sigh of relief and smiled as she said goodbye to Zhou Donghuang, Brother Zhou, then I won't disturb you anymore. I'll come back tomorrow morning. After the young lady left, Zhou Donghuang returned to his room to practice. He practiced all the way until the next morning before leaving his room to wait for the young lady in the courtyard. Brother Zhou. When the young lady arrived, Zhou Donghuang went with her to find the Yang family patriarch, Yang Yunji. 2 hours later, Zhou Donghuang kept the golden needles and said to Yang Yunji, Chief Yang, the poison in your body has been completely purged. Now, the wrinkles on Yang Yunji's face were gone, and the white hair on his head was gone. He had returned to his original appearance, and he stared at the mirror in a daze for a long time before coming to his senses. Thank you, Medicine Master Zhou. Seeing that the poison had been completely purged, Yang Yunji nodded at Zhou Donghuang. He did not bow and thank Zhou Donghuang like he had the day before. Seeing this, the young lady standing by the side frowned slightly, feeling that her uncle was being a little rude. But Zhou Donghuang did not mind. He looked at the brocade box containing the golden needles and said to Yang Yunji, Chief Yang, the Yang family has no use for this set of golden needles. Why don't you give it to me? Although there were 36 golden needles, they were extremely light and did not cost much. If Zhou Donghuang had wanted to get them himself, he could have just instructed Fu. But now that he had them, he could save himself some trouble, and he was happy to do so. Medicine Master Zhou, I want to study these golden needles, so I'm afraid it's not convenient for me to give them to you. Yang Yunji said lightly. Hearing this, Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, then put down the brocade box. If that's the case, forget it. Just then, the young lady could not stand it anymore. She stood up and said to Yang Yunji, Uncle, since big brother Zhou wants these golden needles, let's give them to him. As she said this, the young lady was a little puzzled. Why did her uncle seem to be a different person today? Zishi, I have my own plans. Yang Yunji looked at the young lady and then at Zhou Donghuang. Medicine Master Zhou, I have something to say to my niece, can you leave for a moment? Zhou Donghuang nodded lightly and walked out of the room, preparing to return. But just as he walked out of the room and left the courtyard, he heard the young lady's furious voice from the room in the courtyard behind him. Fine. I'll leave the Yang family. Even if I, Yang Zishi, leave the Yang family and starve to death, I will never agree to marry that playboy Shiryu. Hearing the young lady's voice, Zhou Donghuang stopped in his tracks and frowned slightly. A moment later, he saw the young girl running out of the room angrily. Her beautiful cheeks were covered with tears like rain. She was lovely and touching, and he couldn't help but feel pity for her. Big brother Zhou. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had not left, the young lady reached out to wipe away the tears on her face, but they could not stop falling. Even though Zhou Donghuang had 1,000 years of memories from his previous life and had seen many things, seeing the young lady like this, he could not help but feel his heart ache. What's wrong? As the young lady cried, she said, Uncle wants me to marry that Shiryu, and if I don't agree, he'll chase me out of the Yang family. Now, the young lady's voice was trembling, showing how agitated she was. He can even say such things. Zhou Donghuang frowned. Could it be that he's just saying it out of anger? It's not out of anger. The young lady shook her head. I know Uncle very well. There are some things that either you don't say, or once you say it, it's a done deal. Big brother Zhou, I'll leave first. I'll pack up and leave the Yang family, now, I don't want to stay here a moment longer. After bidding farewell to Zhou Donghuang, the young lady jogged off, crying as she ran, leaving a trail of tears on the floor. Zhou Donghuang's expression darkened, and he entered the courtyard once again, entering Yang Yunji's room. Why? Zhou Donghuang looked at Yang Yunji and asked in a low voice, do you know that Zishi respects you like a father, and you, in order to force her to marry someone she doesn't like, you actually said that you want to chase her out of the Yang family? Medicine Master Zhou, this is a family matter of the Zhao family, you don't have to worry about it. Faced with Zhou Donghuang's questioning, Yang Yunji said lightly. Are you sure, you didn't say that to scare her? Zhou Donghuang asked in a low voice. I, Yang Yunji, am the chief of the Yang family, and my words carry enormous weight. Why would I scare her? Yang Yunji laughed coldly. Medicine Master Zhou, if you can persuade her, please persuade her. As long as she is willing to marry young Master Shi, she will still be a member of the Yang family, and she can continue to enjoy glory and wealth. Hearing Yang Yunji's words, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and he did not say anything more. He directly returned to his guest room, got Fu to tidy up, and brought Fu along to find the young lady. When they found the young lady, she was just about to leave with Aunt May. Brother Zhou? Seeing Zhou Donghuang walk over with Fu, the young lady and Aunt May could not help but be stunned. The young lady's face was still wet with tears. And Aunt May's anger had not dissipated. I am also preparing to leave the Yang family, let's go together. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Walking out of the Yang family mansion with the young lady, Zhou Donghuang asked the young lady, where are you going next? The young lady hesitated for a moment, then said, I am preparing to find a sister and temporarily stay with her. Let me send you there. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Brother Zhou, you don't have a place to stay in the capital at the moment. When I see my sister, I will ask her to take you in. The young lady forced a smile as she spoke to Zhou Donghuang. At the main entrance of the Grand Jing family mansion. Miss Zishi, our mistress has instructed, if you have been expelled from the Yang family and are seeking shelter with her, we cannot let you in. At the same time, she wants me to tell you that you are no match for her, and that you should agree to marry young Master Shi. The Jing family disciple guarding the door said to the young lady. Sister Lily, did she really say that? The young lady's face paled. Yes. The Jing family disciple nodded. At the main entrance of the Grand Xie family mansion. The young lady was once again turned away. Miss Zishi, our mistress said that if you are willing to marry young Master Shi, you will still be sisters, if not, your sisterhood ends here. Zhou Donghuang followed the young lady, repeatedly being rejected. Chapter 83. They are all so heartless. The young girl's face was pale and desolate. She had never imagined that the daughters of the grand families, whom she had treated like sisters, would turn against her the moment she was expelled from the Yang family. Not only did they turn against her, but they were also pushing her into the fire pit. In the past, she had told them more than once that she would rather die than marry the young master of the Shi family. Shi, now, were they forcing her to die? Zishi, let's find an inn to stay in for the time being, Zhou Donghuang sighed. He did not know how to comfort the young girl, because this was the reality, and it had always been so. Anyone would be happy to help. But no one was willing to help in the hour of need. No. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, the young girl shook her head, her face full of indignation. Then, she brought Zhou Donghuang to the mansions of two other grand families, but the result was the same, they were turned away. Young mistress, let's listen to Medicine Master Zhou and find an inn to stay in. Auntie May sighed. Now, you've already looked for all the people you could find. No, there's one more. The young girl's face was full of stubbornness. One more? Who? Aunt May started. She knew all the friends of her young mistress, but she did not remember anyone else besides the people her young mistress had just asked. Ren Jiape. The young girl said in a low voice. Ren Jiape? The daughter of the Grand Ren family? Aunt May smiled bitterly. Young mistress, you and that young mistress Ren did not interact much? The only time you met her was 10 years ago, when she was almost hit by the carriage of the Tycoon Kong family's patriarch. You pulled her out in time and saved her life. Although that was a life-saving favor, how old was she then? How would she remember? Aunt May shook her head. That year, the Ren family chief brought her to the Yang family to thank the chief and gave him a generous gift. After that, you did not interact with her again. The Chu royal city was not big, but it was not small either. The reason why Yang Zishi and Ren Jiape had not interacted after that year was because Ren Jiape had left the Ren family with her mother and left the Chu royal city. They had been gone for a whole 10 years and had only returned a month ago. Hearing Aunt May's story, Zhou Donghuang could not help but shake his head. He did not think that the young mistress of the Ren family would take in the young girl at such a time. Big brother Zhou, the last one, this is the last person I'm looking for. If even she doesn't want to take me in, I'll go with you to the inn. The young lady said to Zhou Donghuang. Let's go. Zhou Donghuang nodded. On the way to the Ren family, Zhou Donghuang learned from Aunt May that although the Ren family was also a grand family, they were much stronger than the Yang family. The Yang family only had one level 6 adept of Qi gathering. However, the Ren clan had 3. Because of this, the status of the Ren family in the Chu royal city was much higher than that of the Yang family. Of course, they couldn't compare to the Tycoon Shi family. Very quickly, Zhou Donghuang and the group arrived at the main entrance of the Ren family household. I am Yang Zishi, I'm looking for your young mistress, Ren Jiape. The successive defeats caused the young girl to not hold much hope, and she lacked confidence when she spoke to the 2 Ren clan disciples that were guarding the entrance of the Ren clan estate. Yang Zishi? One of the Ren family juniors started, then asked with a serious expression, are you young mistress Zishi of the Grand Yang family? I used to be, but now, I've been expelled from the Yang family. Yang Zishi shook her head and laughed at herself. But the Ren family junior's next word surprised everyone, including Zhou Donghuang. Young Mistress Zishi, our young mistress instructed us yesterday that if you came to look for her, we should bring you to the drawing room immediately and inform her. Young Mistress Zishi, please. With that, the Ren family junior led Yang Zishi, Zhou Donghuang, and the rest into the Ren family household and led them to the drawing room. Young Mistress Zishi, please wait here for a moment, I'll inform our young mistress. After bidding farewell to the young lady, the Ren family junior jogged out of the drawing room. I didn't expect this, I really didn't expect this. Aunt May looked at the young lady in disbelief and shook her head. That young mistress Ren, you haven't seen her in 10 years, right? I didn't expect that when you were in trouble, she would be more reliable than the young mistresses of the grand families that you usually interact with. I didn't expect this, I really didn't expect this. Aunt May still couldn't believe it. But now, Zhou Donghuang was thinking about something else. Just now, the Ren family junior had said that their young mistress had instructed them yesterday that if Yang Zishi came, they should bring her to the drawing room and inform her? That meant that young mistress Ren already knew that Yang Zishi would be expelled from the Yang family yesterday. And those young mistresses of the grand families who are on good terms with Zishi obviously knew about this long ago, which is why they instructed the juniors guarding the door to keep Zishi out. Thinking of this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed slightly. It was the chief of the Yang family who had already spoken to the daughters of the grand families, telling them not to take Zishi in? Or could it be, the Tycoon Shi family? By now, Zhou Donghuang had already guessed many things. Suddenly, Zhou Donghuang's ears twitched as he heard a flurry of footsteps approaching. Although it was a distance away, he could still hear it. And this was all due to the Lord of the Four Supremes that he practiced. Practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes had not only strengthened his qi, but his eyesight and hearing had also improved rapidly. Just as Zhou Donghuang was looking outside the drawing room, Sister Zishi, accompanied by a melodious yet somewhat childish voice, a fiery red figure walked in from outside. This was a young girl wearing a fiery red tight-fitting leather jacket. She was about 14 or 15 years old and had a hot and sexy figure. Her pretty face revealed a hint of immaturity and mature charm. The contradictory combination added a bit of a strange charm to the young girl. Sister Zishi, it's been 10 years, and you've become even more beautiful. As soon as the red-clothed girl came in, she walked in front of Yang Zishi. A bright smile appeared on her face. 2 dimples were faintly discernible, and her gaze softened. Your sister Jiape? Looking at the young lady in red, Yang Zixi expression was blank. She could not reconcile this slender and sexy young lady with the crybaby of so many years ago. What? You don't even recognize me? Ren Jiape smiled. No, it's just that, Sister Jiape, you've changed a little too much. Yang Zixi smiled bitterly. After all, it's been 10 years, so it's normal for me to change so much. In the month that I've been back, my level of practice was on the verge of a breakthrough, so I did not look for you, intending to look for you after I broke through. At this point, Ren Jiape paused, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. But I did not expect that before I broke through, the Shi family would come looking for me. They put on the airs of a tycoon family and threatened me with both kindness and authority. They told me that if I were to be chased out of the Yang family, I would not be able to take you in. Originally, I thought that the head of the Yang family would not chase you out of the Yang family. I did not expect that he would actually do so. At this point, Ren Jiape's expression turned angry. As far as I know, if not for your parents saving his life, he would have died at the hands of the bandits. What an ungrateful villain. It looks like the Shi family has given him many benefits. The more Ren Jiape spoke, the angrier she became. However, when Ren Jiape looked at Yang Zixi again, the anger on her face had completely vanished. Sister Zixi, from now on, the Ren family is your home. You can stay as long as you like. Others might be afraid of the Shi family, but I, Ren Jiape, am not. Thank you, Sister Jiape. Yang Zixi thanked her gratefully. There's no need to thank me. If not for you, I would have been run over by that carriage that suddenly appeared. Ren Jiape shook her head and smiled. Sister Jiape, I will not introduce Aunt Mei, you've met her before. Yang Zixi looked at Zhou Donghuang and introduced him to Ren Jiape. This is Big Brother Zhou Donghuang, he is a medicine master, my uncle. At this point, Yang Zixi's expression turned pained, and she corrected herself. The poison in the Yang family chief, Yang Yunji, was personally cured by Big Brother Zhou. Big Brother Zhou. Ren Jiape followed Yang Zixi in calling Zhou Donghuang Big Brother, and Zhou Donghuang, who had a good impression of Ren Jiape, smiled and greeted her. Miss Ren. Sister Zixi, something's not right. Ren Jiape looked at Yang Zixi and frowned. These 2 days, the news in the Chu royal city is that, the poison in the Yang family chief, Yang Yunji, was cured by one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Medicine Master Xiaofan. Medicine Master Yang Yunji, because of this incident, has become even more famous than the other 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, because none of them could do anything about Yang Yunji's poison. Ren Jiape said. It's not like that. Yang Zixi shook her head. The cure for my eldest. Yang Yunji's poison has nothing to do with Xiaofan. I saw the entire process with my own eyes, and only Big Brother Zhou did it. But, this news has been verified by many sources, and it was spread by the Yang family chief, Yang Yunji. Ren Jiape frowned again. There's one more thing. That medicine master Xiaofan has now joined the Shi family and has become the Shi family's medicine master. Many people find this strange. In the past, when Xiaofan was not so famous, he did not even bother to join the Shi family, so why is he joining now? Furthermore, although the Shi family is a tycoon family, in the Chu royal city, where tycoon families are everywhere, it is only one of the bottom. As she spoke, Ren Jiape's face was full of confusion, because this was really incomprehensible. Yang Yunji said himself that it was Xiaofan who cured him of the poison. Chapter 84. It was Big Brother Zhou who helped him detoxify the poison. How can he say that someone else did it? Has his conscience been eaten by a dog? In his rage, Yang Zixi spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Zhou Donghuang caught him in time to prevent him from falling to the ground. Miss. Aunt May's expression changed. Miss Ren, please arrange a place for Zixi to rest. Zhou Donghuang said to Ren Jiape, who had turned pale with fright as he supported young Zixi. Ren Jiape was only a young girl after all, so it was normal for her to be frightened. However, after hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, she hurriedly responded and led Zhou Donghuang and the others out of the hall. Ren Jiape did not bring Zhou Donghuang and the rest to the guest room, but to the courtyard where she lived. This is the courtyard where my mother and my father lived when they were separated. I'll be staying here since I'm back. There are many rooms here, so you can stay here with me from now on. This way, I can take better care of Sister Zixi. As Ren Jiape spoke, she had Zhou Donghuang carry young Zixi back to her room, as the other rooms had not been tidied up yet. Big brother Zhou, is Sister Zixi all right? Ren Jiape asked worriedly as she stood at the head of the bed and looked at Zhou Donghuang, who had just placed young Zixi on the bed. She's fine, Zixi is just suffering from a heart attack. She will be fine after some rest. Zhou Donghuang shook his head and led the way out of the room. Let her rest well, no one is to disturb her. All right. Ren Jiape and Aunt May followed him out. As for Fu, he was helping the servant girls of the Ren family tidy up the other rooms. After Aunt May came out, she also went to help. Big brother Zhou, did you really detoxify the poison in the Yang family chief Yang Yunji and not Xiaochen? After confirming that Yang Zixi was fine, Ren Jiape heaved a sigh of relief. She could not suppress her curiosity and looked at Zhou Donghuang. Why? You don't believe Zixi? Zhou Donghuang smiled faintly, not displeased by the young girl's questioning of him. Firstly, he was not such a petty person, and secondly, this young girl's temperament suited his taste. Of course I believe Sister Zixi's words, I'm just a little surprised. Ren Jiape smiled awkwardly. When Zixi brought me to the Yang family to treat Yang Yuanji, Xiaochen had just finished treating Yang Yunji and said that he was powerless. After that, I spent 4 days helping Yang Yunji detoxify the poison. Yang Yunji announced to the public that it was Xiaochen who cured him of the poison, and that Xiaochen joined the Shi family after that. It seems like Yang Yuanji, Xiaochen, and the Shi family have reached some kind of agreement. If I am not wrong, Zixi's expulsion from the Yang family should be part of the agreement. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly. He didn't think much of this matter. However, Yang Yunji had hurt Yang Zixi because of this, and this was something that he could not bear to watch with folded arms. Moreover, Yang Zixi had rejected Shiryu before, and Yang Yunji didn't expel Yang Zixi from the Yang family, but this time, Yang Zixi was expelled from the Yang family. He vaguely felt that this matter had a lot to do with him. And it turned out that Zhou Donghuang had guessed correctly. The next day, Ren Jiape returned from outside and called Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zixi together. Her pretty face was unusually solemn. Big brother Zhou, Sister Zixi. Ren Jiape went straight to the point and said, just today, the Shi family gave one of their medicine shops near the city center to the Yang family, and the Yang family is already taking over. In addition, the various medicine shops of the Yang family have many new elixirs and elixirs on sale today, and these elixirs and elixirs are not something that the inferior level medicine masters of the Yang family can make. Most importantly, the Shi family's medicine shops have put these elixirs and elixirs on sale at the same time. If I am not wrong, these elixirs and elixirs are all made by Xiaochen, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city. At this point, Ren Jiape paused before continuing. In addition, I asked someone to find out something from a direct descendant of the Shi family who is very close to Shiryu. Xiaochen joined the Shi family because Shiryu personally pulled the strings. Shiryu personally told the scion of the Shi family that the Shi family would give the Yang family a shop, and that the Yang family would announce to the public that Yang Yunji's poison was cured by Xiaochen, helping Xiaochen raise his reputation in the Chu royal city. And the price that Xiao Chen has to pay is to join the Shi family for 3 years. In addition, the patriarch of the Shi family, Shi Hao, in order to reward Shi Yu for pulling the strings to get Xiao Chen to join the Shi family, promised to provide the Yang family with some elixirs and help the Yang family's medicine shop business rise. And the price that the Yang family has to pay is, for Sister Zixi to marry Shi Yu. At this point, Ren Jiapei glanced at Yang Zixi. Yang Zixi clenched her fists tightly, her body trembling. She had never imagined that her uncle would secretly make such an unacceptable deal with the Shi family. Of course, if Sister Zixi insists on not marrying, as long as the Yang family kicks her out of the Yang family, the Shi family will still give the Yang family those elixirs. This was also Shi Yu's idea. He wanted to appear in front of Sister Zixi when she was chased out of the Yang family and no one would take her in. He wanted her to see him as her last hope, and from there, he would possess her. The Shi family disciple who came to the Ren family to look for me was also arranged by him, but he did not expect that I would still take Sister Zixi in. Ren Jiapei continued. Shi Yu. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and at the same time, he realized that his guess was right. It was he who had caused Zixi to end up like this. Suddenly, he could not help but feel guilty. There's one more thing. Suddenly, Ren Jiapei looked at Yang Zixi, her expression turning serious. It's about Third Master Yang. Third uncle? What happened to third uncle? Seeing Ren Jiapei's expression, Yang Zixi had a bad feeling, and his expression changed as he asked anxiously. Third Master Yang is dead. Ren Jiapei sighed. Third uncle, is dead? Yang Zixi face was pale, and he was stunned for a moment. His eyes were bloodshot as he asked in a low voice, Sister Jiapei, do you know when third uncle died? September 13th, Ren Jiapei was referring to September 13, 1228 of the Ziyun era, which was also the day Zhou Donghuang had given Yang Yunji acupuncture treatment for the second time. According to the direct descendant of the Shi family, Shi Yu told him, at that time, Yang Yunji had agreed to kick Sister Zixi out of the Yang family, but Third Master Yang was unwilling, and was killed by Shi Hao. After Third Master Yang died, Yang Yunji still thanked Shi Hao for helping him clean up the family. At this point, Ren Jiapei's speech slowed down, and she looked at Yang Zixi carefully. Zixi, your third uncle, he did not give up on you. Third uncle. Yang Zixi raised her head and let out a mournful cry. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her tightly clenched fists were bleeding profusely. The corners of her mouth were also bleeding from her clenched teeth. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and he immediately stood up and said to Yang Zixi, Zixi, come with Big Brother Zhou. Today, Big Brother Zhou will bring you to the Yang family and the Shi family to seek justice for you. The Yang family? The Shi family? In Zhou Donghuang's eyes, they were just ants. Zhou Donghuang's sudden outburst gave Ren Jiapei a fright, and she smiled bitterly. Big Brother Zhou, I know you feel indignant on Zixi's behalf, but that is the Yang family, the Shi family, so what? Zhou Donghuang laughed coldly, his face full of contempt and disdain. The Yang family is a grand family, and although it is at the bottom of the grand families, it has a level 6 adept, and that is Yang Yunji, the patriarch of the Yang family. Ren Jiapei said patiently, the Shi family is a tycoon family, and although it is also at the bottom of the grand families, it has a level 8 adept. In addition, the Shi family has many level 7 adepts, including Shi Hao, the patriarch of the Shi family. At this point, Zhou Donghuang glanced at Ren Jiapei and asked, are you done? Big Brother Zhou, you, just as Ren Jiapei was in a daze, unsure where this youth's confidence came from, Zhou Donghuang had already raised his right hand and pressed it down on the stone table beside him. Bang! With a loud sound, the entire stone table shook and turned into a pile of stone powder, crashing to the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust. This, Ren Jiapei's eyes widened in shock, and she could not recover her wits for a long time. Yang Zishi had also recovered from the shock of the sudden sound, and the mournful expression on his face froze as he looked at the pile of stone powder in front of him, dumbfounded. Gulp, gulp, finally, it was Ren Jiape who swallowed hard, losing her composure. She looked at the youth in front of her as if she had seen a ghost. The youth was tall and slender, dressed in clothes whiter than snow. His handsome features had a tinge of immaturity, and his eyes were so deep that no one could see through him. Most importantly, this youth looked to be at most 16 or 17 years old. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would not have believed that a youth of this age could smash the stone table in her courtyard into such a state. Even if her father, the patriarch of the Ren family, a level 6 adept of qi gathering, could shatter a stone table with one palm, he could not possibly shatter it to such a state, could he? Now, the stone table had been completely turned into dust, and not a single piece was left intact. One could only imagine the terrifying force that had caused it to be in such a state. Zishi, follow big brother Zhou. Zhou Donghuang called out to Yang Zishi once more, then strode out of the courtyard and towards the main gate of the Ren family mansion. Big brother Zhou, is actually this powerful? Chapter 85. Big brother Zhou, sister Zishi, wait for me. As Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi walked out of the courtyard, Ren Jiape finally regained her composure and hurriedly chased after them. Big brother Zhou, the Shi family has a level 8 adept, are you confident? Although Yang Zishi had just witnessed Zhou Donghuang's terrifying power, she did not know exactly what level of adept Zhou Donghuang was, and could only confirm that he was stronger than her uncle Yang Yunji. Although she had not attained level 1 of qi gathering, she knew that a level 6 adept would not be able to smash the stone table to such a state. A level 8 adept of qi gathering? Hearing Yang Zishi's words, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled in disdain. With his current level 7 of qi gathering, in the country of Yunyang, no one below level 9 of qi gathering could be his match. Ren Jiape caught up just in time to hear Yang Zishi's question to Zhou Donghuang and see the disdainful smile on Zhou Donghuang's face. Instantly, her heart trembled. Big brother Zhou, is he not afraid of even a level 8 adept? He looks like he's only 16 or 17 years old. Looking at the youth, Ren Jiape could not hide the shock on her face. She could not imagine how such a young youth could have such great power. This was illogical. Big brother Zhou, if you are not confident, we won't go. Yang Zishi did not see the disdainful smile on Zhou Donghuang's face. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang did not respond to her, she thought that he was not confident and stopped in her tracks. She did not continue to follow Zhou Donghuang. After stopping, Yang Zishi took a deep breath. Third uncle has already left, I don't want anything to happen to you. Just then, Zhou Donghuang also stopped in his tracks and turned to walk towards Yang Zishi, smiling as he said, silly girl, don't worry, a mere level 8 adept is nothing to your big brother Zhou. Walking up to Yang Zishi, Zhou Donghuang reached out to pat her head. The young girl was a year younger than him and half a head shorter than him. Big brother Zhou, really? Yang Zishi was still in disbelief, her eyes filled with suspicion. Has big brother Zhou ever lied to you? Zhou Donghuang smiled and asked. No. Yang Zishi shook his head. Since that's the case, I'll go with big brother Zhou to that rock. Before Zhou Donghuang could say the word family, he was interrupted by a sudden voice. First mistress, is she the Yang Zishi who was expelled from the Yang family? Although the voice was old, it was full of energy. Accompanying the voice was an old man of medium build in a green robe. His face was dignified without being angry, and when he walked over, his movements were vigorous. Great elder. Seeing him, Ren Jiape hurriedly bowed respectfully to the old man and introduced him to them. Brother Zhou, this is the head elder of the Ren family, Ren Qiong. Greetings, elder Ren Qiong. Yang Zishi hurriedly bowed to the old man. As for Zhou Donghuang, he only glanced at the old man briefly before looking away. The old man frowned slightly at Zhou Donghuang's rudeness, but did not say anything. He looked at Yang Zishi and said in a low voice, "Miss Zishi, if possible, please leave the Ren family as soon as possible, lest you drag us down. Miss Jiape is willful and disregards the bigger picture, please have some self-respect." The old man gave the order to send the guest off. "Great elder." Before Yang Zishi could speak, Ren Jiape's expression had already changed as she glared at the old man. "What do you mean by that? I allowed Sister Zishi to stay because my father agreed, not on my own. What right do you have to chase away my guest?" Ren Jiape's tone became extremely unfriendly as she spoke. "First mistress, the chief agreed only because he felt that he had let you down all these years. You should know that the Shi family has already announced that they will cease all cooperation with the Ren family." The old man looked deeply at Ren Jiape. "Do you know how much the Ren family has lost because of this? And all of this is because of your willfulness." The old man's gaze gradually sharpened. Just as Ren Jiape was about to say something, Yang Zishi said to the old man, "Elder Ren Qiong, Zishi did not know that Zishi's arrival had caused the Ren family so much trouble and loss. Rest assured, Elder, Zishi will leave today." With that, Yang Zishi looked at Ren Jiape and squeezed out a smile. "Sister Jiape, Zishi knows how you feel, but I appreciate it. The luckiest thing that has ever happened to me, Yang Zishi, is to meet Brother Zhou and Sister Jiape." Yang Zishi's gaze turned to Zhou Donghuang. "Brother Zhou, let's call Brother Fu and Auntie Mei and leave together." "All right." Zhou Donghuang nodded. "Brother Zhou, Sister Zishi," Ren Jiape's expression changed. She wanted to say something but was interrupted by Yang Zishi. "Sister Jiape, do you know? Before Zishi came to the Ren family to look for you, she sought out many people who were like sisters to her. But all of them, without exception, did not even see Zishi once before shutting her out. Zishi will remember this kindness of yours for the rest of my life." Yang Zishi said seriously, "Zishi knows that you can insist on letting me stay in the Ren family, but my presence will affect the Ren family and even drag it down. This is not what Zishi wants to see. Sister Jiape, please don't keep Zishi here anymore, okay? The longer you stay, the more guilty I will feel." As she spoke, Yang Zishi's eyes were covered with a layer of tears, but a forced smile hung on her face. Seeing Yang Zishi turn to leave with Zhou Donghuang, Ren Jiape's expression was naturally very ugly. She glared at the head elder of the Ren family. "Head elder, you will regret this." Just now, after witnessing the youth's ability, she knew that as long as he stayed in the Ren family with her sister Zishi, even if the youth did not join the Ren family, he would definitely not stand idly by when the Ren family was in trouble. But now, the head elder of the Ren family had single-handedly pushed her sister Zishi and the youth out the door of the Ren family. Regret? The old man smiled disdainfully, unconcerned. Seeing this, Ren Jiape did not intend to explain anything to him, because she did not want the Ren family to keep the youth for profit. Let's just let nature take its course. With big brother Zhou by sister Zishi's side, she will not be at a disadvantage outside. Thinking of this, Ren Jiape heaved a sigh of relief and strode off in the direction that Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi had left in. "Miss Ren, which inn in the Chu royal city is the best?" Zhou Donghuang looked at Ren Jiape and asked as Fu and Aunt Mei finished packing and prepared to leave the Ren family mansion. He had not asked Yang Zishi because he knew that she would definitely not tell him. "Big brother Zhou, the best inn in the Chu royal city is the Chuxiu Inn under the Chu royal household. The largest and best courtyard there costs 1,000 liang of silver a day," Ren Jiape said. "Even if it's for a year, it's still 300,000 liang of silver." Then, Ren Jiape added, "I'll go get the money from my father in a while to book it for a year." 300,000 liang of silver was nothing to a grand family. But to Ren Jiape, the daughter of the Ren family, it was not a small sum. At least, she could not afford it herself. "No need." Zhou Donghuang shook his head. I can still afford this bit of money. Big brother Zhou, we don't have to go to such a good inn. At this time, Yang Zishi finally regained his senses and hurriedly stopped Zhou Donghuang. We can just find an ordinary inn to stay in. Zishi, ordinary inns will disturb my practice. Zhou Donghuang shook his head with a smile, and Yang Zishi naturally had nothing to say. Following that, Ren Jiape ordered someone to prepare a carriage and personally took Zhou Donghuang and his party to Chuxiu Inn. As an inn under the Chu royal household and the best inn in the Chu royal city, Chuxiu Inn was not only located near the center of the Chu royal city, but also occupied an extremely large area. From the outside, Chuxiu Inn looked antique, simple and unadorned, but it didn't lose its grandeur. At the main entrance of Chuxiu Inn stood 2 rows of waiters, all dressed in the same uniform and in high spirits. Sir, are you here to stay? As Zhou Donghuang and his party approached, one of the waiters stood up and bowed. Zhou Donghuang, who was in the lead, had a bright smile on his face, making him feel at home. I'll book your best courtyard for a year, Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Zhou Donghuang said calmly, everything is simple. We want to move in now, if you can do that, you can keep this tip. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang took out a banknote worth 10,000 liang of silver from his pocket and handed it to the shop assistant. Sir, please come in, I'll take you to the best courtyard of Chuxiu Inn. The waiter's hands were trembling as he received the banknotes from Zhou Donghuang. He had worked at Chuxiu Inn for so many years, but this was the first time he had encountered such a generous customer. As the waiter took the note, the waiters at the entrance of Chuxiu Inn were so jealous that their eyes turned red. Especially some of the older ones, who had worked at Chuxiu Inn for more than 10 years, their tips added up to less than 10,000 liang of silver. Ah Fu, pay him the room fee. Zhou Donghuang said to Fu as the waiter brought Zhou Donghuang and his entourage into Chuxiu Inn. Although he had brought some banknotes with him, it was only about 100,000 liang, just in case. Most of the money was with Ah Fu. Yes, young master. At the same time, Ah Fu took out a large stack of banknotes from his bosom, counted out 200,000 taels of silver, and handed it to the shop assistant who was leading the way. Sister Zishi, this brother Zhou, who exactly is he? Chapter 86. As the best guest courtyard in Chuxiu Inn, it occupied a large area, several times larger than Ren Jiape's courtyard in the Ren family household. There were a total of 15 rooms, 5 for the master and 10 for the servant girls. The 5 master rooms were arranged in a straight line in the middle of the courtyard, while the servant girls' rooms were arranged on either side of the courtyard door. There were already 10 delicate-looking servant girls living in each room. Welcome to Chuxiu Inn. As Zhou Donghuang and his party walked into the courtyard, the 10 servant girls stood in 2 rows and bowed to welcome them. Then they swarmed forward to help Fu and Aunt Mei with their bags. A few servant girls also stepped forward to help Fu with the black iron spear. Obviously, they could all tell that it was a spear made entirely of black iron, and its weight was not ordinary. Otherwise, it would not have been possible for so many of them to carry it together. Zhou Donghuang naturally noticed this detail. The servant girls of Chuxiu Inn have good eyes. However, when he thought about it, he felt relieved. What was this place? Chuxiu Inn. The best inn in the Chu royal city. Moreover, since these servant girls were arranged to serve the guests in the best guest courtyard of Chuxiu Inn, they must have been carefully selected and not just to make up the numbers. No wonder this courtyard costs 1,000 silver taels just to stay in it for a day. This is really a big deal. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. Of course, he was only slightly surprised that there was such an inn in the Chu royal city. In his previous life, he had roamed the universe and stayed in even more luxurious inns. Compared to those, this inn's guest courtyard was not even worth mentioning. The entire guest courtyard was divided into a front courtyard and a back courtyard, separated by the 5 master rooms in the middle. The servant girls usually only moved about in the front courtyard, and at most went to the master rooms in the courtyard to tidy up. In the back courtyard, unless the guests allowed them to tidy up, they were not allowed to set foot there. This also ensured the guests' privacy to a certain extent. These were all introduced to Zhou Donghuang and the rest by the slightly older servant girl among the 10 servant girls. In the past, I've only heard of how great the best courtyard in Chuxiuan is, but this is my first time here. This place is much better than the courtyard I stayed in with the Ren family. Ren Jiape sighed and looked at Zhou Donghuang. She smiled and said, "Big brother Zhou, look, the 4 of you will only stay in 4 rooms. How about leaving the last one to me?" With that, Ren Jiape pouted her cute little mouth and stared at Zhou Donghuang. "If you want to stay here, do you think I can stop you?" Zhou Donghuang shook his head with a smile. If Ren Jiape was willing to move over, Zishi would have another companion, and he was naturally happy to see it happen. He wanted to console young Zishi, but he didn't know where to start. After all, he had roamed the universe for thousands of years in his previous life, and he had always been alone. He wasn't good at getting along with women. Although he never lacked women around him, he, who was focused on cultivation, had no interest in those women. Of course, he thought to himself that perhaps he really hadn't met anyone who could move him, and he wasn't willing to settle for anything, so he had been alone all the way until he returned to 1,000 years ago. In this life, if I can really meet someone I like, someone suitable, I can try that pleasure that countless people yearn for. Returning to 1,000 years ago, Zhou Donghuang had thought of this more than once. Then it's settled. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Ren Jiape's eyes lit up, and she called out to young Zishi, "Zishi, let's go into the rooms to take a look." With that, she pulled young Zishi into one of the master rooms. However, they did not enter the master room in the middle. Of the 5 master rooms, the master room in the middle was obviously the largest, followed by the other 2 master rooms near the middle, and the 2 at the sides were even smaller. The 2 youngest ones were occupied by Ah Fu and Aunt Mei just now. Both Yang Zishi and Ren Jiape had instinctively left the largest master room to Zhou Donghuang. Now that he had a place to stay and had settled down, Zhou Donghuang did not forget to stand up for the young girl. "Zishi, I've already asked a servant to prepare a meal. After dinner, big brother Zhou will go with you to the Shi family." The young girl acknowledged and thanked him profusely. "Thank you, big brother Zhou." She had already asked Aunt Mei to ask Fu in private, and after confirming that her big brother Zhou was indeed not afraid of the Shi family, she was no longer worried that her big brother Zhou would be at a disadvantage if he went to the Shi family. "I'll go too." Ren Jiape's eyes lit up, obviously wanting to join in on the fun. The Shi family was a tycoon family, and although they were at the bottom of the tycoon families, they still had a certain status in the Chu royal city. Although the Shi family mansion did not occupy as much land as many of the tycoon families, it was not small, and it was located close to the center of the Chu royal city. However, today, the Shi family mansion was not peaceful. "Chief! Bad news!" In the courtyard where the Shi family chief, Shi Hao, lived, a Shi family disciple rushed in frantically and said, "Someone has broken into our Shi family mansion. Who is so daring?" The door to the room in the courtyard opened, and a burly, bearded, middle-aged man walked out. It was the current chief of the Shi family, Shi Hao. "It's a young man and 2 young girls," the Shi family disciple said. "The young man attacked and injured a few of us, then got one of us to bring them to the hall, and let the rest of us inform you, the chief, first young master, and medicine master Xiao." This Shi family disciple was one of the few who had been in charge of guarding the Shi family mansion today. He held his left arm with his right hand, and his face was pale. It was obvious that his left arm had been injured. "Are you all so useless that you can't even stop a young man?" Shi Hao asked in a low voice, his gaze cold. "Chief, that young man is very strong, and we were completely powerless to stop him." The Shi family disciple smiled bitterly, but at the same time, he thought to himself, if the other party was not strong, how would he have dared to break into the Shi family mansion? Of course, he did not think that the young man's strength was enough to contend with the chief of the Shi family. After all, the chief of the Shi family was a level 7 adept. And among the few of them who guarded the main gate of the family mansion, the strongest was only a level 3 adept of qi gathering. However, the fact that a young man could overpower them still shocked him, because the young man looked to be at most 16 or 17 years old. Even the most talented heir of the Chu royal family, at his age, could not possibly be as strong as him. The Shi family disciple thought to himself. Humph. Shi Hao snorted coldly and walked towards the hall of the Shi family mansion with a solemn expression. On the way, his anger gradually subsided, and his mind became clearer. Just now, when he heard that someone had broken into the Shi family mansion, his first thought was that the intruder was very daring, and then he flew into a rage. As a result, he had overlooked many things. Or rather, he had not had time to carefully consider some things. A young man? In the Shi family household, even the weakest of the collateral disciples guarding the door were at least level 2 adepts of qi gathering, and every batch of collateral disciples on duty had at least one level 3 adept of qi gathering. A young man is enough to overpower them? At this thought, Shi Hao's expression became serious. He did not think that the collateral disciple who had informed him would lie to him, because he knew that the collateral disciple would not dare to lie to him. Soon, when he was still some distance from the hall, Shi Hao saw an old man walking in the direction of the hall. The old man's expression was grave. Father. The old man was dressed in a loose grey robe, and he was burly and bore some resemblance to Shi Hao. It was Shi Hao's father, Shi Ji. Shi Ji was the previous chief of the Shi family, and the only level 8 adept in the Shi family. The Shi family was a tycoon family that had just been promoted 5 years ago. And the reason why the Shi family had been promoted to a tycoon family was that this old chief of the Shi family had attained level 8 5 years ago, leading the Shi family to become a tycoon family. Do you know who that young man is? Shi Ji asked solemnly as he looked at Shi Hao. I don't know. Shi Hao shook his head with a bitter smile. I asked carefully just now, the few of them together were no match for that young man. And among them, there was even a level 3 adept. Shi Ji's expression was fearful as he said, that means, that young man is at least a level 4 adept, or possibly even a level 5 adept. A mere level 4 or level 5 adept of qi gathering is nothing, but a youth who looks no more than 16 or 17 years old, even if he is only a level 4 adept, do you know what that means? Shi Ji's tone became more fearful as he spoke. At least, in the current generation of the country of Yunyang, I have never heard of a prince attaining level 4 at the age of 16 or 17. Shi Ji gasped, the fear in his eyes growing. I suspect, he might be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. The Valley of the Medicine Masters? As soon as Shi Ji finished speaking, Shi Hao's expression changed, and his eyes narrowed. The Valley of the Medicine Masters was a sect so powerful that the Shi family could only look up to it, and it was above the country of Yunyang, to the point that a word from the chief of the Valley of the Medicine Masters could change the ruler of the country of Yunyang. Even if he is from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, why is he looking for us? Shi Hao was panicking, completely panicking. He could not help but panic. Since the young man who seemed to be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters had come to them in such a manner, it meant that he had ill intentions and was not just a simple guest. Humph. That's what I should be asking you. Shi Ji's expression darkened, and he snorted coldly. He took a deep breath, as if gathering his courage, before he dared to continue to the drawing room of the Shi family mansion. Chapter 87. The Shi family mansion. In the living room. Before entering, Shi Yu was still puzzled. Where did this youth come from? Not only did he injure a disciple of the Shi family who was guarding the gate, but he also trespassed into the Shi family's residence. Furthermore, he even dared to openly wait for them in the living room of the Shi family residence. Now, when he walked in and saw the person sitting arrogantly in the main seat of his living room, his expression instantly darkened. "It's you." The old man beside Shi frowned as he saw the youth in white sitting in the main seat of the living room, and his expression darkened. He could not understand why this youth was here. Was it him who had injured the Shi family disciples guarding the gate, barged into the Shi family mansion, and asked him to come to the living room of the Shi family mansion? The old man could not help but think that the Shi family disciples guarding the gate were useless, unable to even stop a youth of 16 or 17. The person who had entered with Shi was one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Xiaofan, who was also one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city in recent days. This was because he had cured a poison that even the other 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city had not been able to cure, and it had only taken him a few days. These few days, Xiaofan's medicine shop's doorstep was almost broken by the people who went there to buy antidotes. After news of Xiaofan joining the Shi family spread, the Shi family's medicine shop was bustling with people, as if the medicine sold there was free. All this was because Yang Yunji, chief of the Grand Yang family, had announced that it was Xiaofan who had cured him of the poison. Because of this, Xiaofan had been glowing every day these few days, as if he had been reborn. "Zhou Donghuang, was it you who injured the Shi family disciples and barged into the Shi family mansion?" Shi asked in a low voice as he stared at the youth in white sitting in the main seat. Now, even though there were 2 beautiful girls standing behind the youth, he was not in the mood to look at them. Because, if it was really Zhou Donghuang who had barged into the Shi family mansion, it meant that Zhou Donghuang was not weaker than him. Xiaofan might not know the strength of the Shi family disciples guarding the gate, but as the eldest young master of the Shi family, how could Shi not know? If he really broke into the Shi family, he would at least be a level 4 adept of Qi gathering, and no ordinary level 4 adept at that. While Shi was secretly shocked, he could not understand. Isn't this Zhou Donghuang just a country bumpkin from the inferior Yunfeng prefecture? Since when did an inferior prefecture produce such a person? Or maybe, his background is just something he made up. Actually, he's from the royal family, and even, the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Although Shi was young, he was more meticulous than most of his peers. Otherwise, he would not have been able to single-handedly force Xiaofan, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, to join the Shi family. Thinking that Zhou Donghuang might be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Shi's heart seemed to be shrouded in a haze. Impossible. Definitely impossible, Shi kept comforting himself. Xiaofan. Yang Zishi, who was standing behind Zhou Donghuang, saw Xiaofan, and her eyes turned cold. She could not help but curse, "Medicine Master Xiao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, I never thought you would be so shameless. It was obviously Big Brother Zhou who cured the poison, and you still have the cheek to say you did it, even I feel ashamed for you." "What a little girl like you says doesn't count," Xiaofan said with a grin. Xiaofan grinned. "No one would believe you even if you told them on the street. The world will only believe the words of the chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. If he says I cured it, then I cured it." As he spoke, Xiaofan's smile grew wider. Hearing this, Yang Zishi trembled with anger. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would not have imagined that someone could be so shameless. Shameless. At this time, even Ren Jiape, who was beside Yang Zishi, couldn't stand it anymore. She scolded, "You old fart, it looks like you don't have many years left to live. Aren't you afraid of going to hell for doing such a wicked thing?" "You are?" Xiaofan recognized Yang Zishi, but he did not recognize Ren Jiape. However, hearing Ren Jiape curse him, his eyes flashed with a cold light. "Medicine Master Xiao, she is the first young mistress of the Grand Ren family, Ren Jiape." Shi reminded Xiaofan softly. "So it is the first young mistress of the Ren family." Xiao Chen looked at Ren Jiape with a look of sudden realization. He continued to smile and said, Miss Ren, I heard that you stubbornly took in this Yang Zishi. I advise you not to get involved in this mess, otherwise, the Ren family's losses will only increase. As he said this, a cold light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes, and the smile on his old face became more and more sinister and twisted. Although he was smiling, it looked worse than crying. Just then, 2 sets of heavy footsteps came from outside the hall. As Shi Yu and Xiao Chen instinctively turned their heads, they saw 2 figures walking in one after another. The one in front was an old man, and behind him was a middle-aged man. Both of them were well-built, and there was a resemblance between their brows, especially their noses, which were almost identical. Grandfather. Father. As Shi Yu spoke, the identities of the 2 people were revealed. They were the Shi family's previous patriarch, Shi Ji, and the Shi family's current patriarch, Shi Hao. Shi Hao. As Shi Hao entered, Yang Zishi's hateful gaze fell on him. It was this Shi Hao who had killed her third uncle, Yang Yunchong. Greetings, Grand Patriarch. Even Xiao Chen, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, did not dare to slight Shi Ji, and he hurriedly bowed in greeting. Shi Ji was not only the Grand Patriarch of the Shi family, but also the pillar of the Shi family, a powerful level 8 adept. The Shi family had become a tycoon family entirely because of him. If, after 100 years, the tycoon Shi family did not produce a second level 8 adept, the Shi family would revert to being a grand family. Patriarch. Xiao Chen was more at ease in front of Shi Hao, the current patriarch of the Shi family. Medicine Master Xiao. Shi Ji nodded at Xiao Chen and walked past him and Shi Yu to bow to the young man sitting at the head of the table. Shi Ji of the Shi family greets young master. How should I address you, young master? Shi Ji asked respectfully. Shi Hao was not surprised by the Shi family's respect for the young man, but Shi Yu found it hard to accept, but he knew why his grandfather was so respectful to the young man. His grandfather must have suspected that the young man was from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Shi Ji and spoke for the first time. You are the level 8 adept of the Shi family? Yes. Shi Ji hurriedly answered, not daring to be rude. Shi Hao, patriarch of the Shi family, greets young master Donghuang. Shi Hao, the patriarch of the tycoon Shi family, also bowed respectfully to Zhou Donghuang. Seeing this, Xiao Chen was completely stunned. Patriarch, what are you doing? This lad is just a lad from an inferior level prefecture. Patriarch, you know him. He is the young man who cured Patriarch Yang Yunji of the Yang family of his poison, Medicine Master Zhou. Xiao Chen looked at Shi Hao, his face full of confusion. What? Xiao Chen's words caused Shi Hao's expression to change drastically. When he looked at the young man again, his gaze was filled with fear. He's that young apothecary? Didn't they say he was only from an inferior level prefecture? How could someone from an inferior level prefecture attain level 4 or even level 5 of Qi gathering at such a young age? Shi Hao's heart trembled, and he felt his scalp go numb as he realized that he had kicked an iron plate this time. The young medicine master. The Valley of the Medicine Masters. With a flash of inspiration in Shi Hao's mind, these 2 points were completely connected. This would explain why this young man with a level 4 of Qi gathering could cure Patriarch Yang Yunji of the Yang family of his poison at such a young age. It was naturally not difficult for someone from the Valley of the Medicine Masters to do so. Young Master Donghuang, you are from the Valley of the Medicine Masters? Taking a deep breath, Shi Hao asked Zhou Donghuang nervously, holding on to his last shred of hope. If he was really a disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, then he could only admit defeat this time. If he was not, then everything would be easy. The Valley of the Medicine Masters? Hearing Shi Hao's name, Zhou Donghuang was first taken aback, then he laughed disdainfully. Why? Do you want to know if I am from the Valley of the Medicine Masters so that you can plan your next step? Shi Hao smiled awkwardly at Zhou Donghuang's words. If you want to know if I am from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, go find Yang Yunji of the Yang family. I can't be bothered to make another trip to the Yang family. Today, I will settle this matter with the Shi family. I will go find Yang Yunji now. Hearing this, Shi Hao dared not delay and hurriedly turned to leave the hall. The Valley of the Medicine Masters? Just as Shi Yu was looking at Zhou Donghuang in shock and uncertainty, Xiao Chen's gaze towards Zhou Donghuang was also changing rapidly, and his expression had become somewhat ugly. He could not understand. How did this young man get involved with the Valley of the Medicine Masters? What exactly is going on? Just then, Shi Ji looked at Shi Yu and asked in a low voice. Grandfather. Shi Yu looked at Zhou Donghuang carefully, then told Shi Ji everything that had happened in detail. Shi Ji was usually in seclusion and rarely cared about outside matters. Although he knew that Xiao Chen had joined the Shi family, he was surprised, but he did not know how Xiao Chen had joined the Shi family. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Shi Ji's expression changed. He could not blame his grandson and son for this matter, because if it were him, he would have done the same thing. However, what was unexpected was that the young medicine master who had helped cure the Yang family chief, Yang Yunji, was actually from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Grandfather, he might not be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Shi Yu said softly. Chapter 88. Sister Zishi, Big Brother Zhou, is he from the Valley of the Medicine Masters? Seeing that all three generations of the Shi family were afraid of the youth being from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Ren Jiape could not help but ask Yang Zishi softly. I don't know. Yang Zishi's pretty face was also filled with confusion. I don't think he is. She still remembered that her big brother Zhou had told her that he had grown up in Yunfeng Prefecture, and this was the first time he had left Yunfeng Prefecture. Of course, the reason he had told Yang Zishi this was because this was indeed the first time he had left Yunfeng Prefecture in this life. In his previous life, he had traveled much further than he was now, and he had been taken to another faraway planet, Earth. No? Ren Jiape was a little disappointed, but she was not worried, because the youth had already demonstrated his great power. Furthermore, the youth had dared to come to the Shi family despite knowing that there was a level 8 adept, which meant that he was not afraid of the Shi family. About 15 minutes later, the Shi family head, Shi Hao, who rode a Fergana horse to the Yang family, finally brought the Yang family head, Yang Yunji, over. He brought him all the way to the living room of the Shi family mansion. Shi Hao, you still haven't told me why you called me here in such a hurry. Yang Yunji was still yelling when he reached the hall of the Shi family mansion, his tone filled with confusion and confusion. You'll know when you go in. Shi Hao said in a low voice as he returned to the hall. Hearing this, Yang Yunji immediately followed him into the hall. Entering the hall, Yang Yunji immediately saw his niece, Yang Zishi, who had been chased out of the Yang family by him. She was standing at the head of the hall, looking like half the host. Seeing Ren Jiape beside her, he was not surprised, because he already knew that this first mistress of the Ren family had taken in his niece, but that was not something he could interfere with. In the end, his gaze fell on the young man who sat at the head of the table like he was the master. It's you? The moment his gaze landed on the youth, Yang Yunji was first stunned, then said in disbelief, why are you here? Yang Yunji found it hard to imagine that this country bumpkin from an inferior prefecture would be sitting at the head of the Shi family's guest hall. Moreover, now, even the Grand Patriarch of the Shi family, a level 8 adept, was standing below him, looking as if he was afraid of the youth. Could it be that he had made a mistake? Young Master Donghuang, I have brought the person, now, can you tell me? Shi Hao stared at Zhou Donghuang and asked. Tell you what? Zhou Donghuang asked lightly. Young Master Donghuang, are you from the Valley of Medicine Masters? Shi Hao asked again. Valley of Medicine Masters? Initially, Yang Yuanji's expression had already changed slightly when he saw Shi Hao, the patriarch of the Tycoon Shi family, being so respectful to the youth. When he heard Shi Hao ask the youth, his expression changed drastically. Medicine King Valley? Wasn't this kid a country bumpkin from an inferior prefecture? How could it be someone from Medicine King Valley? No. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. No? Shi Hao's eyes flashed, and everyone else present heaved a sigh of relief. They did not think that Zhou Donghuang would say no on purpose, because under such circumstances, it would be a miracle if he did not lie and say yes. Then young Master Donghuang, which family are you from? Shi Hao asked again. There's no need to test me. Zhou Donghuang stood up without any warning and said lightly, I have no family backing me. As for me, I was born and raised in the inferior Yunfeng prefecture. I have a foster mother who used to be a disciple of a preeminent family in Yunfeng prefecture, but she has now left that preeminent family. Zhou Donghuang revealed all his background in a few words. If you really want to know what my background is, I, Zhou Donghuang, am my background. As he said this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed like the stars in the night sky. At the same time, a strong sense of confidence emanated from his body, as if there was nothing in the world that could frighten him. Chief Shi, I was wondering why you brought me here in such a hurry, so it was because you thought that this country bumpkin was a disciple of the Valley of the Medicine King. You think too much. Disciples of the Valley of the Medicine King are not cabbages that can be found anywhere. Yang Yunji shook his head and smiled. If you are not from the valley, how dare you come to the Shi family and act so presumptuously? When Shi Hao looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his eyes turned cold, and at the same time, he took a step forward and said coldly, Today, since you have come to the Shi family, don't even think of leaving. Shi Ji stood at the side, frowning slightly as he looked at the youth who had left his seat. This youth, if he did not have any background, where did he get such strong confidence from? He really could not understand. If he did not have any background to rely on, how could this youth be so confident? Deliberately mystifying? Bluffing? Then I would like to see, if I want to leave, how will you stop me? Zhou Donghuang strode towards Shi Hao. Just as Shi Hao was wondering where the youth's confidence came from, Yang Yunji laughed coldly, Lad, just you alone, there is no need for Chief Shi to do anything. I, Yang Yunji, can send you on your way. As he spoke, Yang Yunji's feet moved, and he used a lesser-grade swiftness technique to rush towards Zhou Donghuang. Whoosh! Yang Yunji arrived in front of Zhou Donghuang and struck out with his palm. The wind blew gently and the power of a level 6 adept was fully displayed. Just as Yang Yunji's palm struck towards Zhou Donghuang did not even look at him, and with a jerk of his right arm, he struck out with lightning speed to meet Yang Yunji's palm. Bang! The palm met, and a loud sound echoed in the hull. Crack! Ah! Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, Yang Yunji let out a blood-curdling scream like a pig being slaughtered. His entire body flew backward, smashing through a few screens in the living room along the way before landing heavily on the ground with blood spurting from his mouth. The arm that he had used to strike out had been pierced through the shoulder by Zhou Donghuang, and it was completely crippled. The huge living room fell into a dead silence at this moment. Big Brother Zhou, even the two girls, who had been mentally prepared, could not help but gasp when they saw Zhou Donghuang injure Yang Yunji so badly with just a casual blow from him. Yang Yunji, as the chief of the Grand Yang family, was a powerful level 6 adept of qi gathering. But now, in front of their big brother Zhou, he was as vulnerable as a baby. How is this possible? Shi Yu's expression changed. He had already been in disbelief when he had guessed that the youth before him was a level 4 adept of qi gathering. Now, with a casual strike from the youth, Yang Yunji, who was level 6 of qi gathering, had been injured so badly, which meant that the youth's level of practice was definitely above level 7 of qi gathering. Perhaps even higher. This youth, could he be the reincarnation of a great adept? Xiaofan looked at the youth in shock, and his heart trembled. Even in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, which was superior to the country of Yunyang, it was impossible for a youth of 16 or 17 years of age to have such a prodigy. Therefore, Xiaofan could not help but guess that the youth before him might be the reincarnation of a great adept. Even a connate stage adept who was superior to an adept of qi gathering was not qualified to be called a great adept. A great adept referred to those who were superior to a connate stage adept. These beings could fly in the air, and they could even use their physical bodies to travel through the void and leave the planet of Ziyun for other planets. To the people of the country of Yunyang, they were legendary beings. Throughout the entire planet of Ziyun, there were not many such beings, and all of them were prominent figures on the planet of Ziyun. Shi Hao, chief of the Tycoon Shi family, level 7 adept of qi gathering. I heard that you are the most powerful level 7 adept in the Shi family. Zhou Donghuang had sent Yang Yunji flying with a single strike as he walked, but it did not affect his progress. In a moment, he was in front of Shi Hao. Sir, only when Zhou Donghuang was in front of him did Shi Hao come to his senses, and his face was filled with fear. Even he did not have the ability to injure Yang Yunji so casually with a single strike like the youth had. In the entire Shi family, perhaps only his father had the ability. Young Master Donghuang, have mercy. Just then, Shi Ji stepped forward. Now, he finally knew where the youth's confidence came from. Just as the youth had said, his background was himself. Based on the ability that the youth had just displayed, it meant that the youth was at least a level 8 adept of qi gathering like him. Although he found it hard to believe, he had seen it with his own eyes, and he had no choice but to believe it. What? Are you trying to stop me? Zhou Donghuang tilted his head slightly and glanced at Shi Ji. Then, without any warning, he moved. It was as if he had transformed into a ferocious beast, charging straight at Shi Ji. Seeing this, Shi Ji's eyes narrowed, and he did not dare to delay, preparing to attack with all his might. But his speed was still too slow. Just as he was gathering his strength, Zhou Donghuang had already sped up and was in front of him. Without using his hands or legs, he simply turned his body sideways and slammed his elbow into Shi Ji's chest. Bang! With a loud bang, Shi Ji flew backward as if he had been hit by a ferocious beast that was good at charging. He crashed into a huge pillar in the living room, leaving a deep human-shaped mark on it. The next moment. Boom! Kaboom! The entire living room shook as if there had been a violent earthquake, and it took a while for it to calm down again. Shi Ji's old body crashed to the ground, blood spurting from his mouth. His breathing was weak, and his face was pale. After struggling for a while, he managed to stand up. Father. Grandfather. Both Shi Hao and Shi Yu's expressions changed drastically. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.